Welcome back to the WCS Winter Grand Finals. We have an amazing Best of 7 ZVZ coming up. I am Zombie Grub, casting with In Control.
Hello.
Who is also super excited to be our resident ZVZ expert.
Yes.
In the, what legitimately could be one of the best ZVZs of the year.
I know. I always feel a little silly whenever we say stuff like that, but every time Raynor and Serral do battle, it's just really, really fun. Even last time, where Raynor kind of mopped up Serral a little bit, we saw the Lurker Ling, which was super cool, and Serral put up a good fight, but ultimately he was overtaken.
And he just said that he doesn't really think it's a good style, so it shouldn't happen again. That's what he says.
And normally, that's like, again, almost any other player, I'd be like, oh, there's a little bit of ego there or something, but Serral, I think, actually just speaks the truth all the time. He's like, no, I think that was a one-time thing.
I agree, but then I also feel like Raynor, who such a cool guy, man. He came in and talked to us a little bit about the earlier series. I think it was Lambo versus Laser. Anyways, he brought up the Ling Lurker, and he's like, I feel like he could hear Serral be like, nah, it's not that good, and be like, I don't know, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna show you what's up.
But that's why Serral's so funny, because he said we'll maybe see it one game, and what if that's exactly true? In literally one game, we see it.
Yeah. I would love to. I didn't actually get to watch the entirety of those games. I watched the clips, the highlights, right, of like why that worked. And people make good points about why it worked in those specific games. So, I mean, I would love to see it work. I would love to see it be, you know, actually another style to use. And Raynor would be the guy to use it because he is so well known for his Ling control. But it's a very risky thing to do. You know Serral is going to be a tough opponent. You got that one series against him in the round robin, but it's clearly back to the old Serral here today for this playoff bracket.
I think that's exactly right. Like, I do like what you were saying earlier, and kind of suggesting Raynor would be the guy to do that kind of cheeky, like, oh, you don't think it's very good kind of thing. But Serral is also the guy where if something did catch him off guard and something was kind of weird, you've got that one shot, I feel, right? Like, we kind of even saw it with the Battle Mech. Here, Raynor was able to do it. You guys ask great questions, and he's just like, yeah, you just manage your gas a little bit better, and it makes a big difference. And it turns into a 3-0 in a very fast series.
Yeah, suddenly the flip is switched, but switch is flipped. You know what? Whatever.
You got it.
Yeah. I mean, I can go both ways.
Wow.
Anyways, so just a reminder as to what these guys are fighting for, not just an increase of $4,000 for that total $12,000 in first place, but also for a hefty chunk increase of the WCS points. To give some context, I believe, like, if they get first place here, all those sweet, sweet points, they are not guaranteed. They're not guaranteed for the finals, but they are pretty darn close. So another good, strong performance, which these guys will undoubtedly have in the entire year, and boom, they're in it. So
I agree. For me, though, and I don't think I'm being that silly caster that's trying to make a big deal out of something that's not. I think for these guys, the other awards are bigger. It would be Serral once again kind of gaining back his confidence in winning. And those WCS points that you just talked about kind of guarantees him showing up at the end of the year again, which is a big deal for him. But for Raynor, it would be overcoming Serral, which has been everyone's nemesis, and winning the big tournament. He's got a lot of great results, got a lot of good finishes. People were hyping up all of last year. But he doesn't have the big win. We don't have Raynor the champion of X stop or whatever. Winning Winter over Serral, I think that would solidify him as an absolute staple.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's the prestige actually is on the line here. They had that fantastic match in the grand finals of Montreal, and then, well, the round robin was awesome. It was something where that match in particular didn't have to be the difference between first and second. It was the difference of seating, which is still, you know, important. That's why Raynor has that top spot, can feel nice and comfy on his throne and play an entire best of 7. It didn't have that weight to it, but if he takes it here now in the best of 7, that would be pretty impressive. And Raynor, I think he definitely can do it. Serral might be looking back to the old Serral, but Raynor was already so close to taking down old Serral.
Exactly, I agree. And I really do feel like there are, and I think this, I've talked about this with Koreans in the past more, but there is beating a Serral or beating a top-tier Korean in the group stage, in the best of earlier on. I think that's fine, that's good, it's a great result. But it's a completely different animal to go to the finals of the tournament, to face elimination, to face the big prizes, and to win there. So in the past, Raynor has had amazing results, but he's kind of fizzled out. It feels like when the pressure is on, that young man still has what countless other people have, and that's butterflies in the stomach, or the struggle to finish. Serral obviously overcame that a long time ago. So it's a coming-of-age story for Raynor, and it's can Serral continue to keep being the big dog?
Yeah, exactly. which, I mean, it really mimics, like, what was it, September? So 6 months ago? It's quick math.
It's good math.
I think I did it right.
Yeah.
Actually, it's April. Darn it.
Terrible math.
Still March. Anyways, we are heading into the first game of this Best of 7 series. And again, this should be a very, very cool ZVZ. We got 2 players who can show different styles, but then also competing against each other. Can have, you know, Lings versus Roach. Mutas might make a scene here. And of course, Lurkers, whether Ling Lurkers or just good old-fashioned late game. They had the full run of things in their last meeting in a Best of 7, and I expect nothing different here as we spawn onto Kairos Junction.
We are underway. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming, in the top left-hand side, the Italian young man himself. It is Raynor from Team Gamers Origin.
In the bottom right, as the blue Zerg, he is Serral for ENCE Esports. He placed 3rd in this bracket, 3rd seed for this bracket. Kind of a surprise. Everyone thought he was going to be first. And then, oh, questions. Nope, he's back up in here, ready to take back his crown from this young upstart. I say that as if they have a huge age difference. They definitely don't. Serral's also super young, and I mean, gosh, by the end of this year might be in the million for that prize money won. Oh boy.
He's got a long ways to go. The big payoffs of Katowice and WSG did not get there for him. Well, he still did well for himself, obviously, but just not $150,000 well for himself. We'll have to see. Now, both players, if you look at the builds here, just doing very similar stuff. And this is, I always like the beginnings. This is a best of 7. I think we mentioned that, but just to make sure it's clear now. It's a longer series. Yeah. It's always interesting to see how players start off. Raynor's got that wide range of builds. Serral will stick to just the kind of few things. He's not a big, going to do all kinds of crazy different stuff and try to really throw you off. He expects you to do that to him. But with this opening here, I can kind of assert at least a little bit that A, the map's good for this, obviously, but B, both players not going to try to change things up too much.
Well, Raynor does slow down an evolution chamber very fast, which is not that surprising. This is he did it a couple times last time these two competed against each other, so we'll see. I mean, what that develops into and the actual result from that in a couple minutes. But just to touch on something that you were saying, right? Like, Serral doesn't have to be the one that changes things up, and some people might be like, well, what about WESG? You know, versus Innovation, it was a very different type of Serral that we saw. Yeah. Well, there was all the excuses like he was sick, it was in China and all that, but it also was just he had recently played against Innovation and had been shown his own weakness. Where versus Raynor, I don't think it's actually been that recent. Yes, there was the series in the round robin, but again, it was kind of like, that was a round robin. Like, I still got through. So I don't think there's going to be as much of a need for Serral to be like, you know what? He knows my weaknesses. I'm going to have to counteract that. I do think that Serral is going to be the one that is more in the macro stage, wants to take it longer, and is going to be reacting to whatever Raynor does in more games than not.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And what I also kind of like about Serral, and I've enjoyed commentating him for a while now, is anything you say where it's like, this is what he does, it's actually really not always true. Like, I just made this mistake, and you called it out rightfully so. It's like, he usually is not the guy to push the boundary. I think that's true for the most part, but like you said, there are examples of times where he's like, no, I'm going to throw in an all-in, I'm going to mix this up. It's kind of funny to watch him, because we get to interview him so much, but we're like, what do you think of the Nidus? And he's like, I don't know, I don't like it that much. But then last series, 2 series ago, excuse me, he does it, and then we're like, what do you think of the Nidus? He's like, I don't think you need to practice it, but I know it's important, so I still try it. It's just funny how honest he is about it, and just kind of open to basically experimenting and evolving as a StarCraft player.
Yeah. So this Evolution Chamber did go into a Carapace upgrade. We have no speed for either player. Now, this makes, I guess, the most sense. This what Serral is doing is where we see that most commonly. You skip the speed, just go right into Roaches with that +1 missile. You don't have a third base. It's kind of, it'd be difficult to protect if the other person were to get speed. But for Raynor, that's a little bit more surprising, that he gets the third base, and he also gets to skip the speed thing, as well as the Baneling Nest, and also has an upgrade to combats, actually even faster than Serral's upgrade. So he will be prepared for an attack, but Serral is coming along not just with Roaches, but also with Queens. He's made a creep highway here. Is Raynor going to be prepared enough? +1 Carapace will be done, Roaches will be out, and Spinecrawler should be finished.
It's the Lambo special. He was down, 16 drones at this point in time. So if Raynor can find a way to hold on here, and he's making the spine crawler, he's actually abandoning the third. This is the right call for him to have a chance. Then he'll be in fantastic shape. It's going to come down to this 4 Seros walking into this 14 army supply up. It's mostly in Roaches. He also has the Roach speed upgrade, and with these Queens here, it's a little bit of an equalizer.
The +1 Carapace is done. 7 seconds. The +1 missile. The Roach Warren being the first thing shot down is a little scary, as Raynor is only just now replacing that, but he's got the spine crawlers on his side. Serral is going to move over to that freebie third base, it looks like, but he has to do more damage than just kill that. He is still down 15 workers and on his own 2 bases.
Yep, and now the spine crawlers can shoot in the fight. It's a tough little spot to go into. You can have the concave on the outside, but getting inside, you get hamstrung a little bit. It's a very hard base to kill, and as Zobner pointed out, the worker difference is pretty big, and that's why you can see back at home for Serral some drones starting to come out. He might actually just be happy with a few Overlord kills and this third getting sniped. And I think that's the right call, to be honest with you. Yes, he goes into this very far back economically, but this little maneuver should equalize. And if he were to try to attack the natural and it fails, he just loses the game from there. I'm almost certain.
Yeah, I think so as well. It's interesting because Serral, obviously he brought the Queens, he delayed his drones. It was quite all in, and I feel like if he had not been able to get that Roach Warren, that he should still be dead. Like this entire time, Raynor would have been using what ended up being, he started to accrue a huge bank, right? That would have been Roaches protecting maybe even the third, as he was just so barely in time to defend against this. But the Roach Warren going down was absolutely big. It was the reason I think that Serral is still in this game, can actually go back into drones. He's going to use the army supply lead to continue kind of just poking and prodding here. Raynor's forced to cancel third base. But at this point, it's more about the scouting that Serral is missing. It's great that he might be stopping Raynor from droning a little bit more, taking that third base, but he doesn't know about that Spire that's over halfway done.
The Spire will be a pretty big deal.
Hold on here. The literally just went through here. Okay.
It did see it? No.
No, it didn't.
Not yet. The other important thing here to note, though, is that Raynor's chunking out the Roaches. So if you look at his kind of mass resources, he is hovering at 400, so it should be like 5 or 6 mutas or so. We're not going to see the crazy mass muta strategy, but those 5 or 6 mutas are going to grab back that map control, kill a few Overlords, and then make Serral have a pause, right? Like, is he going to throw his Roach count and just say, I have so many more that I can still be aggressive and try to buy time, or does it shift things in favor of Raynor? If you look here, army-wise, he is down. So those mutas, they're nice. They'll be in the air, but his Roach count is behind.
Yeah, offensively, the mutas aren't going to be able to pair up with the Roaches and like attack into the third base, for instance, where there's probably Queens and maybe even a Spore Crawler, right? There we go now. But defensively, as far as controlling the map, getting rid of Overlord, so that's 400 minerals perhaps down the drain, as well as making sure that Serral can't move into him with what is still a better army supply. They're still going to be useful. They weren't as big of a surprise as they maybe could have been, as Serral finally did get sight on that Spire, and he will have the necessary protection against what is a very low number of mutas. It just, you really don't want to push out on the map the entire map's length and be taking that extra bit of damage.
Loving seeing these two masters at work, though, because it was Raynor that was up pretty far in worker supply advantage, and then it was army supply advantage of Serral, but the defense from Raynor was exactly right, pulling the drones, making the spine crawlers. And now we've gotten to this stage of the game, too, where these 5 or 6 mutas are going to kind of fight back and grab a little bit of map control. But it's Serral that's not overreacting, not immediately the Hydra Den, not 3 more Queens queued up. He's like just very appropriately responding and incrementally so that he can not throw himself too far behind off of a, kind of a mediocre tech here, right? It's just the 6 mutas.
Yeah. And they got a decent number of Overlords. They're not going to find that bottom left one, but keeping tabs on what Serral's doing. They could see a transition into Hydras. He could see a 4th base being a little greedy and taken there. So I feel like they're okay investment. Now here comes the actual push from Serral, who was confident enough with the Queen count that has grown. A little bit of creeps has been thrown forward as well. And now it's going to be more about that ground army. Mutas, sorry, you can't do too much here, but man, is he trying to make them work.
Yeah. This microing limit feels like it's a lot to do nothing. He was trying to get that one Roach who actually gets transfused. It just does nothing. He's leading forward here now, but a pretty good concave for Raynor on the defense. He's moved the spine crawlers down to this low ground to protect the third. And we're going to have that fight as Serral is actually finding a pinch here as some of these Roaches are getting kind of wrapped around that
pillar.
Kind of the pillar, whatever, the rocks.
Yeah.
But it's just so much army here for Serral.
Yeah, it is. With the Queen's transfusing, it certainly helps. The Spineclaws even move forward, and Raynor is close to having his own +2 along with that Carapace upgrade. 7 seconds to go. Has he taken the fight a little bit too soon? It's going to be 28 Roaches, 25 to 30. It's so close. The Queens are still alive, but they're mostly out of juice, and the Spinecrawlers still have not been taken down.
No, and they're just providing such heavy hitting on those back lines. It's mostly Queens here now, and they will be caught off. I mean, the reinforcements are coming in, but the concave of Raynor and the sustained damage from the Spinecrawlers is fantastic. The Queens die, and more Roaches are coming out, so a pretty big supply advantage for Raynor, and they went into it with Serral having a slight supply advantage. So to give you an idea of how good of a defensive spot that was, he's even droning up behind this is Raynor. He's saying, I've got this advantage, and I mean, if you would have resupplied, you might just win the game right here, but you could try to get a better economy.
Yeah, I mean, he could just win and have the better economy.
That's pretty good, too. Yeah, okay, why not?
GG.
Have your cake and eat it, too.
Gee, Raynor reading that game so well, I would say. Serral saw maybe an opportunity with the attack, but Raynor had not invested into speed he didn't need. He did not invest in Baling Nest. He did not overdrone so much that he died. He just overdroned enough to live. And again, if he hadn't even, imagine if that Roach hadn't even died. I wonder if that would have been an even easier game for the Sing Italian player. But he looked actually, again, perfect. Don't ever use the word perfect, but there was no weakness that Serral could find despite some very well-timed attacks.
It's going to sound silly to say this, and maybe in time this will not age well, but Raynor looked Serral-esque. Like, it's not that he won off of a build order. He didn't win off of some crazy, amazing Ling run-by tactics that the game went into chaos. He actually just through good decision-making, great positioning, and taking the right fight, defending at the right time, won this game off of just that. And that's usually what we see out of Serral. And it's not like I look at this game and say Serral's playing out of his mind weird and made these mistakes. No, he played really well as well. He just lost. We don't see that very often.
No, not too often. And again, Raynor, I really like the way that he turned that build into, and I don't think we saw any attempt to go for speed, but you also see if your opponent is doing the Roach wall off very quickly in DBZ. It's a very, I think it's around like 230 actually that you started or something like that. So maybe his initial plan was to hit if Serral had also taken a third base with +1 Carapace and speed. But because you can figure that out and just like be like, no speed, no Baling Nest necessary, that was it was huge to be able to propel himself forward also to those Roaches just in time with a better upgrade. You got that fast evolution chamber, and you weren't punished because Serral was still doing his own thing.
Yeah, very cool back and forth there, and it all kind of builds up to this big final fight. And I'll tell you, we joke, I don't claim to be a ZVZ expert, but going into this, I thought this was pretty good for Serral. I didn't necessarily think it was going to be like a overwhelming win for him that spirals into a win, but ends up being an overwhelming loss that spirals into a loss. I did not see that coming. You can see the Muta's trying to contribute at the top there, but it's just not much. He's landing a bunch of Corrosive Biles, I guess. I feel like the Spinecrawlers were a pretty big deal.
They were. I mean, you really could slow this down, right? Put on like normal speed and really see where the micro comes in. But those Mutas adding, they turned like 8 Roaches into the orange, I would say, up there because the Queens weren't taking them down immediately. And then the Corrosive Biles weren't being used to take out Spinecrawlers, which are very good against Roaches. They were being used to try and hit the actual big Roach clump because Serral did have a slightly better concave there for a while. But no, it didn't work. The micro was there for Raynor, and again, he didn't get too greedy. He didn't let the Mutas go to his head and build 9 or 10 of them, and that would have been 500 less minerals and gas to go into Roaches. No, it was quite perfect as a defense, and Serral was just like, okay, I attacked you twice and you defended? Like, there's not much else I can do here. Let's go into game number 2.
Yep. Very, very interesting. And like I said, it in Zombie as well, we just really enjoyed the kind of strategic back and forth of that game. It was a different pace. When I think of the great Serral Raynor matchups, it's typically like really chaotic, low econ, everything's bleeding, everything's in the red, stuff happening everywhere. This was not the case. It was just the back and forth between them was really nice.
Yeah. Yep. Also might have just been nice predicting on the map type as to what Serral will do, since you can wall that a natural off quite well. Like there's a lot of things going into it, but Raynor just looked simply stronger with the decisions that he made. And Serral was going to have to change. I don't want to say he has to change things up because he could do the same thing but then play a macro game perhaps. You know, just kind of threaten an attack but play in the macro game. But clearly Raynor isn't going to be the one that has to be aggressive. He didn't actually just depend on his, well-known unit, the Lings. He mixed it up first and was much better for it.
I would be surprised, though. I mean, you pointed this out in the game. We had no speed for both players. They're both so well known for their Ling run bys and the information they get from it. I gotta believe that's the only time we ever see them not go speed, man. That's such a backbone of their play.
Well, we're getting into a much, well, the biggest map in the map pool.
Yeah.
Year Zero is going to be our game number 2 map. In the top left, taking that first game, it is the Red Zerg, Raynor.
Maybe on his way to his first major tournament win. That would be pretty amazing. Standing his way in the top right-hand side from Finland, it's Ents Serral. It's funny seeing this too. It's his prize earnings is $640,000. Raynor's prize earnings $40,000. So just a mere $600,000 difference. Serral often has that kind of disparity with a lot of players, but what I think is funny is I bet you at the end of this year, Raynor's prize earnings are going to be very different. This guy is incredibly talented, and only this last year was even allowed to compete. And in his first year, which is incredible to say, he was almost on the brink of going to BlizzCon.
It was insane. It was not just his first year of competition, but also the first event. It was Montreal, so it was... I mean, he took it and ran with it and almost made it, as you said, but Serral was kind of, the destiny. We look back on it and call it destiny. He's supposed to take the 4 WCS crowns. He's supposed to go to BlizzCon and win it all, but it's a brand new year, and Raynor is kind of following along the footsteps, but even younger than Serral was. I mean, Serral was playing from the age of, I don't know exactly, but definitely 14 or 15, playing in DreamHack a very, very long time ago, and like Raynor has recently appeared on the scene, and it's been even more explosive jump forward as far as prize money, as far as just like people recognizing him.
Yeah.
I mean, this kid has a really, really good future.
He's just a cool story too. I think it was his dad that was traveling with him when he was too young to compete by himself at some of these events, so he has great family support, and then like you said, he actually at that younger age was still getting results and was doing it in kind of a flashy, fun way too. And you'd ask him about it, and he's just like, "Oh, I love StarCraft." And I was, I was ready to do this, but it's good stuff. Because on the other side too, like we said, Serral's really young. I think he's 21 or something. He's just super, super young.
Yeah.
But his father as well raised him, talking to him about how manners and etiquette in StarCraft and the importance of it. And it's fun seeing these young people's lives get enriched by this beautiful game. I think that's something that we have in the StarCraft community that's pretty special.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really is like Raynor. I know like every player has their complaints, but both these players certainly do. But it's like when they're actually just like, no, I just really love StarCraft, and you're like, oh, what a wholesome answer. Thank you for just saying that.
Get you in front of more cameras.
Anyway, so you were spot on, right? That might be, well, so far we might have 5 more games. But immediately after a speedless game, they are both going for speed. And not just speed, they're both going for a Baneling Nest. So no attempt to skip there. They're not going to play too loosey-goosey. And it is Serral who actually makes, what, slightly more lings? And he's not stopping it. There we go. Back in a drone. So some testing, right? Maybe you make a couple Banelings to try and make your opponent scared so they don't make as many drones, but not too much dedication here.
And he can, wonderful job by our observer here to just catch that little moment there. It's like so meaningless. It's 2 lings versus 2 lings, but they're just checking to make sure you're paying attention, because if you're not, at this stage of the game with $4,000 difference in prize pool and huge amounts of WCS points up for grabs, a couple of lings can make all the difference. But as Omigr pointed out here, it is going to be a few more lings for Serral spilling out right now. This is the ebb and flow of ZVZ. It's going to be a little bit of a like who can tease out more lings and get an overreaction, that kind of stuff, or make a mistake. You can see both players being very diligent about making sure that Banelings are accounted for as they both amass drones. Where will they go from here, we'll have to see. Sometimes you'll get that, there's the lair from Raynor, but other times you'll skip lair, throw down Roachborn, and even go like Ling Ravager for a quick timing attack as well.
Yeah, speaking of well, you said Ravagers, but Roaches, first off. We don't have a Roachborn down yet for either player, but Serral does start that +1 missile. And that is kind of, if you're going to go into Roaches, you want to get that down, as the Roach Warren could probably be, you can buy time if they do have suddenly quick Roaches, you didn't expect it. So I do expect Serral to send that down. Raynor's still a bit of a question mark, right? He doesn't have an Evolution Chamber, he doesn't have a Roach Warren. Maybe he's taking more gases with that faster lair. And he might be taking advantage of Year Zero, of what he's assuming is going to be a bit more of a passive Serral, and actually try and go for a very greedy Spire.
Yes, we've been seeing a lot of Spire in ZVZ. The Lambo, a Laser series, and now this. has all featured Spires almost in every single game. And I think you're going to be correct on this. There still is no Roachforn. Evo Chamber, it's late, but there is that Spire. And my senses aren't tingling just yet like a mass muta. It could be. And I think if this is +1 melee in the evolution, that will pretty much seal the deal, because it's such a late evolution chamber for me. That's the part that kind of, and it is +1 melee. So I think it will be Muta Ling and kind of the mass Muta variety. Yeah. Serral's so good about scouting it, though. I feel like if he snuffs that out, that late +1 melee is going to be a big pain, and he sees everything. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, already the lack of Roachworn on the front lines, then even getting the main would have been a bit of a tell, and then, well, just literally seeing the Spire is the biggest one. So. Yeah. He has the information. He decides to go for his own Spire.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I think it's Matt. I don't like it strategically at all. Like it's a later Spire. He's invested away from it. +1 melee is better than +1 range for that composition.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So
I think he's doing it because it's a large map, though. To finish my point, if you just sit back and the other player has Spire, you're going to be constantly bouncing between your bases, and you're going to be way behind, I think.
I mean, this is also not his, like, oh, I'll just finish +1 missile. He also gets +2 missiles. So he's really not dedicating to the Spire the way that Raynor is. But as Raynor dipped in there, you actually see the Spire doesn't look like it, because he starts up his +1 missile. No, I mean, didn't he see it? Yeah, I thought he saw it. Okay, so, but he's still going to go for the missile, I guess, reading into the Roaches, seeing that they already have an upgrade, too, as you click on them. He's like, I don't think you're going to dedicate to that. He is still going to go for his missile, not the Carapace on those mutas. But Serral, what is his plan with the Spire? Because you can't afford as many mutas if you're going to be also going for Roaches, which you require that ghastly upgrades as well.
I kind of just think it's a mistake. I mean, everything you just said, I agree. And I don't even see him using it at this point in time. Like, he can only make a few mutas given the resources that he has right now. And what, making 4 mutas versus the 12 that are out there? Who cares?
He's getting Carapace.
Oh my god.
How is he going to afford to beat out a person who is able to invest as much gas as they want into just the Spire? +1 melee, okay, sure, it costs gas as well, but just that's not the same as building a Roach army with that +2 missile. It's going to be Corruptors. Interesting response. You know, back when they first met at Montreal, I was actually saying that, like, maybe Serral had a bit of a weakness to the Muta play. Obviously, that was a long time ago, and then he had no weaknesses, as we found out, for a very long time. But maybe it's style that he still is, like, he might still be uncomfortable with, but he also might be finding new ways to deal with it. So these Corruptors, I feel like I've seen it maybe before, but not super common.
I kind of like it. It's cool. The funny thing for me is the last time I saw Corruptors in a ZVZ, it was Serral beating, I think it was either Dark or somebody who... or maybe it was Rogue. Anyways, they had their own Corruptors, and it looked really good for them. But Serral was able to come back and win that game. So yeah, it's a different look, obviously. And Serral might look at that and say, "It's fine, you did it, but I'll do it better."
I'm very curious to see how the fight goes down. So let's see the numbers here: 21 mutas, sorry, with an upgrade versus the 10 Corruptors so far. Not a lot of Roaches on the ground. It's just, the fight itself is going to be so weird because you shouldn't underestimate the Ling. Just because Roaches are usually like the next step of ZVZ doesn't mean that Lings, especially with upgrades, are bad. Like, if they get a surround on what is still a low number of Roaches, they may actually be even better with the Glaive Worm, and the Corruptors might say, okay, we don't die, but what about everything else you got, Serral? Like, is that going to die?
And even +2 melee and air attack here. More and more Corruptors coming out. And the other kind of funny thing here, too, is what is the tipping point for Corruptors? Do you just keep making them? Is like 30 Corruptors the answer for infinity mutas? I don't know.
I don't know. 15 would be a decent amount, but even a couple more on the way. Sees an opportunity to cancel or kill this base. He is going to get the cancel. The Lings are going to be very good at getting in there and sniping something and getting out. And even if they do die, you know, they're caught in a trap. They are not expensive, although you need to be a little wary about your larva usage since you are larva intensive here. But we have a 5th base, as the style that Raynor is playing is generally the one that gets the better economy, more of that map presence, and he is trying to utilize it. He's doing a pretty good job of it, too.
And this is what I think the fear of the Spire is. The Corruptors, maybe you can't take a fight against them, but the mutas are so fast, and as I say, you can't take a fight against them. That be damned. Here we go. He's jumping on top of the Corruptors here. I have no idea, guys. This is a longer, drawn-out fight, but as ZombieGuard was pointing out, it does open up opportunities for the Lings, so keep your eye on that mini-map, that blob of Lings running back and forth, finding positions to try and get wraparounds.
I guess I could see how, you know, if you get to 30 mutas with +2, you can snipe the Corruptors. We saw him almost one-shot one of the Corruptors there. And then the Glaive Worm is still something that Corruptors just will never have, right? So maybe eventually he could take on the Corruptors, but not if there's Spore Crawlers on the ground, not if there's Queens, which the Lings might be able to help out with, but yeah, Serral is still using that Baneliness he got earlier on to just, make the move away. We don't have any Carapace upgrades for Raynor's Lings, so they have to be very careful around those.
And now he's getting +1 air attack as well. So both players really investing into the upgrade. The Lings get sprung though. They're inside the main and the natural. It's going to be a bit of a problem. The Roaches were defending based off positioning. Meanwhile, the 4th base under attack. Actually, the whole mini-map is blinking a little bit here. That base is going to get canceled again. And that's only if he cancels it. Yep, there it is, that cancel. Lings do get cleaned up inside the main, but 8 drones have died in the background. And now again, this questionable fight up here. Do the Corruptors win or do the Mutas win? Certainly with that Spore Crawler, the Corruptors will win. And the Queens get isolated as well. They're going to get picked off. A great move from Raynor here.
Yeah, every single Queen just went down there. Before the Lings could respond, they had been dragged up to the main base and just were out of position, really, in both locations. Another hatchery cancel, 14 dead drones. Raynor's also trying to get into a hive eventually, but right now knows that Serral's going to try and counter, and he is trying to get prepared for that. Once he takes out the Corruptors, there will be nothing to stop these Mutas from attacking the Roaches, and he does take on the Corruptors. So now just go back, help those Lings, and I don't know if Serral's going to be able to do a lot of damage here.
No, there's still 28 Mutas. They're hugely upgraded too. So these are different kind of Mutas. We've seen Mutas in lower numbers fight. Well, maybe with the Corruptors occupying some of their attention to get some done. I don't think so though. The Lings surround and kill, and Raynor, off the back of mass Mutas and mass Lings, confounds Serral again. He does something we haven't seen Serral do. It's ineffective. He gets outmaneuvered, and he's down 0-2.
Yeah, that one was... I mean, the first game was just like, okay, Serral was the one that forced the issue with the attack. It didn't work. Okay, so be it. That happens. But that second game was just... And I'd hate to be, like, critical of a guy who's going to be so much better in the game than I ever will be, but, like, the Corruptors, I don't know. Yeah. Against someone who's maybe more passive, who says, oh, you have the army that wins if we attack in one spot. I guess I won't attack you at all. Maybe it does work, but Raynor's never that guy. He's always in more than one place.
I really do think it was the StarCraft hard math of that Spire is way faster than I was anticipating. If I don't make my own Spire, you will bounce between the 3 bases and you'll pick me apart. Like if it's just Spore Crawlers, Queens, and then eventually Hydras, I think you lose that game 100%. With Corruptors, in retrospect, I think if he's able to prevent the cancel on the 4th of the 3 times it happened and they're never sprung into the main and natural, maybe there's something there. We don't know. But because he got exploited position-wise a couple of times, things just started falling apart.
That's a very good point. If he has that 4th base up and running, he maxes out on the Roaches and Corruptors faster and has an attack that actually makes Raynor sweat a lot faster. So that's probably what he was hoping for. You can play the game with the Hydras and the Spore Crawlers, but you're right, that was one of the reasons he would struggle against Raynor, is that if he played the standard, okay, I'm going to try and get my 4th, get Hydras, maybe Infestors, Raynor would still tear him apart. So try to adapt, try to get his own Spire. I wonder if that is going to become something, like a thing that happens, but we also don't see a ton of just those fast Spires from Raynor. So I guess, again, he kind of was the one that forced Serral to react to that game, right? And it's made him very uncomfortable, I feel.
Yep, and it's almost, again, Serral-esque. I'm going to try to get away from that, I promise you guys, but it's just Raynor in the driver's seat and Raynor making these hard choices and executing them at a very high level. It looks like it was just Mutas and Lings and it was just too good and he won. Don't for a second trick yourself into thinking that was the case. It was brilliant Ling play. It was very aggressive macroeconomic play behind that, making Serral believe, well, hey, with your 4th base getting canceled over and over again, Raynor's over on 5 bases. This game will just leave you behind if you don't do something decisive. And moving out of the middle of the gigantic map is something Zombie Grove touched on. It's the biggest map in the map pool. Against Lings and Mutas, you better have like such an overwhelming force that you can make up the difference, but that wasn't the case. There were still 28 Mutas on the map. They won.
And it's not like he was prepping for any type of Roach production, really, for quite some time. So maybe if he had gotten such an early scout and he had already had a Roach Warren done with a couple Roaches, maybe it would have been like, oh, could I Nidus Swarm here? Do something to actually put the pressure on him? No, he wasn't. They were both playing pretty passive, just like little bits of poking there, and then drone, just 2 different tech paths. And Raynor really just ran away with it. Love that style in general. It's certainly a very exciting style to play. How does Serral respond here as we are getting into game number 3? So far, not the back and forth we were anticipating, but...
Not yet. Mutas look good in ZVZ, don't they? Maybe it's because you know, you're a Terran player, I'm a Protoss player. We still watch a lot of Zerg, obviously, but like every time I see Mutas in ZVZ, it just seems so good. I want, like, my visual win percentage is it's like 85% Mutas win. It has to be.
I know what you mean, though. Like, when I off-race a Zerg and play ZVZ, I'm just like, I can't deal with Mutas type thing. But I think there are certainly weaknesses if you are guaranteed the player who does Mutas. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you do have to kind of mix it up. But I am happy to see that it's mixed in for a time. It wasn't at all. So it's back in, and Raynor is definitely a very good player to showcase that style. So game number 3 on Automaton in the top right as the red Zerg up 2. He is Raynor.
Having 3-0'd his 2 previous opponents and now facing going down 0-3. If he doesn't find something here, it's the blue Zerg from Team Ents, Serral. Another big map. The map pool has a few of these, but this is the other white meat, if you will, in the sense that it's very large.
Yeah.
Great reference, too.
Yes, of course. This does not have a ramp at the natural, which does kind of push away the feeling of safety that you might get from 2-base Roach openers like we saw in the very first game.
That's a great Spire map. Zombie, I'm going to say it. It's a great Spire map.
It's difficult to get to the Spire. When I said that Raynor was being greedy last game, obviously it was a bit longer of a game, and it's not like he was not getting a Baneling Nest either or something like that, but he was skipping the Roaches, where that... You know, sometimes that safer, more standard thing we see is the Roaches, then maybe a tricky Spire. But if you did it here, and Serral actually was like, you know what, I'm going to take advantage of the fact there's no ramp. I'm going to take advantage of the fact that there's this open space and try and really apply pressure with Ling Baneling, you could falter. Yeah. Spend 200 on a Spire and the faster lair to try and do it, and then they're just constantly throwing wave after wave. It can be difficult to do. So I don't know if he's going to, again, risk that. You don't want to be the Spire player. You will start being just hard countered. But I mean, to the same point, like Serral probably could not do a 2-base opener and then like a Nidus Worm, which was popular in some other maps that we had, but not this one so much.
All good points. And we're going to have to see how Serral attacks this because, you know, we kind of talked a little bit about it, but it's typically him that's willing to receive the ideas of his opponent, because he's in that driver's seat, so to speak, but it's actually been Raynor just calmly and just sitting over there saying, no, I'm about to be crowned the king of WCS winner, and I'm okay with that. But so far, they're just kind of doing the same thing. It is that 3-hatch opener. We've seen this in the other ZVZ as well. I think it has to do with the fact that the map is very large, but then again, you can't lock in that natural, and I think that's one of the check-back builds that Zombie Grove was talking about. Like, if you can go very fast lair, fast Roach speed, +1 range attack, and your opponent takes a greedy third, you're going to move out and cancel that and maybe win the game if you do that opener. But here, not an option.
Yeah, or mix in a Nidus Worm, which I would feel like we're going to see eventually in this big best of 7, maybe. but maybe not. Like, you know,
maybe
I don't
just
think
4 games, right?
I don't think we're going to see it here, and then there's only one more game after this. So, as Raynor is once again throwing on his Evolution Chamber, he is going to go for the +1 melee this time. So, lots of different openers here. Serral is again going for Ling Baneling, 3rd base. He's making the initial Lings, test the waters, but is he really going to test them? More Lings are on the way. Banelings are being made as well, and those are offensively. They're on Raynor's side of the map.
Yeah. He's already got a queued up to move over there. Lings get into the main. They get no damage done and do die, but they see there's no lair. They see there's no Roach tech or anything, not even Evo Chamber back in the base, right? So it's pretty straight up a lot of Lings. Now there's the ebb and flow of those drones behind this for Serral. But he's going to want to do something here fairly quick. Well, Banelings by themselves. They get found and do nothing.
I feel like that's one of those, like, I don't know, you just hope that they think they're going to be at the 3rd base, and then you just get sneaky, but it's actually one of the more obvious places to send your Banelings. So, hey, what do you know? The Queens are there.
Yep. So
that doesn't work out so well. He is committing more Lings to this and more Banelings, but the Queens were not touched, really. They can still help focus fire them down. So Raynor, going for that +1 melee, did not get his own Baneling Nest. He could have been weak against like a lot of them.
Yes.
And so far he's handling it.
And that's got to be something Serral's picking up on, because he's adding more and more Lings. They're coming across the map. And he's saying, I'm not seeing any Banelings whatsoever just yet. The Lings that tried to counterattack a little bit were ineffective. They'll take a bad fight there and die for the most part. Baneling getting bailed out here. Wow. Oh my. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Not a good hit, but it could have been amazing. And all of a sudden, Serral's got that little bit of army advantage, and +1 melee is about to kick in. Oh, the queens.
One almost has a transfuse. Here comes the third one. There it is. Now, there are more Lings on the way for Reynor, so this is not going to snowball completely, but that was a mistake on that Baneling.
I mean, that's going to be 4 queens dead. The drones are pulled as
queens
well.
dead. Yeah, there. Finally, the Lings come. Feels like it takes forever when you're being attacked in your mineral line. And 18 more Lings are on the way with that +1 melee. Serral now has thrown down the +1 missile as well as the Roach Warren. His lair is about to finish up here, but Reynor, he is going for that Hydralisk Den. Is he gonna do it? Is he gonna do the lurkers with the Lings? I said he would try. Seems like the type of guy that would be like, Serral doesn't think it's good. I'm gonna do it and see if he's surprised or just is straight up wrong.
Yeah, we're gonna have. I love this. They've taken to the streets to prove their points, right? So +1 melee is done for those Lings, but they're outnumbered here just a little bit, or at least backed up by the Banelings. They get close. And then the Roach Warren's been given time to now produce 10 roaches. So the kind of danger of the +1 melee Lings getting work done is going to come and go.
Yes, Nidus Worm. Not the fastest one, but certainly still dangerous as Reynor is playing with very vulnerable units. He didn't get Carapace to survive a Baneling hit. He is just hoping that he doesn't get hit by Banelings, that he can get wraparounds on a smaller number of roaches, out up against a wall or something like that. But in this case, with the Nidus Worm, roaches, queens, and Banelings, I'm actually unsure how Reynor is going to hold this, except maybe sniping the Nidus Worms as they come up.
And if you look at the position, one in the main, not spotted at all. There's no Overlord over there. There's nothing to see it. Oh,
well, that might just be it. He's taking a 4th base, what's happening, by the way, so Reynor's playing super greedy. That Lurker didn't take, like, forever to finish, by the way, so this is just hoping that Serral doesn't do anything aggressive, hoping to catch it anyways. With a Nidus Worm, can't catch it. It's just right there in your face.
Basically, his plan just became either GG right now, which is silly, or hold on and hope Lurkers have some huge miraculous comeback mechanic. But the fact that he's going to lose the main and maybe more is already putting this in a really bad spot. And Lurker Dens actually do take forever to make. You said that, and I was like, come on, Zombie Grub. But then I look over there, I'm like, it's actually still building.
Yep, and he doesn't have any Hydras to turn into Lurkers.
That is the problem.
There's not really any comeback mechanic here. Serral, this is some serious revenge, right? This is actually an easy game for Serral.
Do we get to say it's not good?
Oh, there's 3 Hydras. I was wrong. There's 3 Hydras. Turn the 3 Lurkers.
Lings are going to go find out if they can do something. If they could, that's why Reynor would stay in here, but I'm going to go ahead and say that he probably finds out that not much to do here.
There's almost like poetry in the fact that Reynor was going to try and show off. I feel like he was kind of showing off.
A little bit.
And he gets absolutely destroyed. He gets absolutely wrecked. Again, if he had seen the army on the way, maybe he could do something. He is really good at buying time.
Yeah.
But Nidus Worms, you don't really buy time with that. So, Lurkers, you're gonna save 2 bases, but you lost all your tech, or your main at the very least. I guess he does still have the Lurker Den. Nope, just the Hydra's Den. Okay, so you can make a lot of Lings and Hydras. That's what you're gonna do here.
Now the Overseer is going to spot that and say, okay, Reynor doesn't want to get out of the game. I guess I'll usher him out of it. Oh yeah, surprise Banelings.
Yeah, no. There he goes. Yeah.
Well, hey, you've got a 2-1.
Yes, we do. But it wasn't exactly the, grit that Serral has. We're going back in a dead series. He was just like, you know what? Nidus Worm you, and then Reynor just kind of killed over. So
yeah.
I mean, it's great to get momentum back. That's what you hope for. You just throw in some a type of attack, and in this case, it was absolutely perfect, and you gain back the momentum. So you just you're not nearly as worried.
I feel like the Nidus pokes holes in a lot of builds. Because again, once the Ling Lurker does get rolling, we saw that. It looked amazing. I think it was on Year 0 they played last time, where we saw that tech work really well in favor of Reynor. This time around, Sarah's like, no. And what I think he means is if you can never get to it, it's not very good. If you get to Ling Lurker, I'm sure it's a fantastic tech. But if you're getting Nidus and dying and losing your main and natural before it happens, well, maybe not so good.
Even then, people kind of remarked on how Serral just let himself be surrounded. Obviously, StarCraft 2 is a more complicated game, and you know a bunch of things. But I almost want to see at this point just a best of 7 entirely dedicated to seeing if Ling Lurker works or not. As that might be something that Reynor still strongly believes in, but everyone else is like, nah, actually, don't even try. And in this case, it certainly was just you're being
Greedy?
about that. You're being greedy about
It was
that.
a little greedy.
You're already on the ropes against someone who had banelings. You'd already messed up a little bit by losing all those queens. You didn't have the same control to get the perfect scouting, to get Serral kind of off kilter, and you're kind of asking to be Nidus Swarmed. So that worked out super well. GG.
I don't know, maybe it's my like over glorifying pro gamer mind, but the other part, I guess the counterpoint to that, and I don't know that this is true necessarily, could be he is like, I'm behind. I need to do a weird tech. Now would be the time to bust this out. If I don't get Nidus and Serral takes that time to drone up a lot and all of a sudden 9 lurkers start showing up backed up by Lings.
That's true.
Maybe it works. That's my best argument. I don't know, again, if that's actually what happened or not.
Well, I'm glad it's not a 3-0. We wanted to see the back and forth, and so far, well, that Nidus Swarm just gave us some back and forth. We're going to be going into game number 4, but only after
Did you just Fear Dragon a little bit?
Break. Never. Don't accuse me of such things. After this break, guys, game number 4 between Serral and Raynor coming up soon. Welcome back, everyone. I am no longer with Just in Control. In fact, he's gone. He's out of here. ZVZ, it's for the experts here. We have Lambo and a Laser coming on. They're like, these casters, man, I don't even understand what ZVZ is. They wanted to talk to us. They wanted to explain the beauty that is this matchup and this series in particular. Thank you so much, guys, for coming on, for offering your time. I'm excited to get started. So this series, going to game number 4. What do you think about these first 3 games? What has really stood out for you?
I think these first 3 games really show the new ZVZ, where the Nidus got nerfed, and it makes a huge difference because now the Zerglings can kill the Nidus, so Ling Bane Muta is a lot better. The Ling Lurker is viable, let's say. And yeah, I think this is a typical series where Reynor, so the Serral's opponent, just throws everything they have at him. They cut some corners and then go for some specific styles, and Serral tries to play reactive. So yeah, pretty typical Serral series, I would say.
Yeah, I think so too, because yeah, the Nidus nerf actually hit ZVZ the hardest of any matchups really. Because you think Nidus was actually, you know, a big nerf in ZVP or the ZVT, but really it's a ZVZ change in my opinion. And yeah, all the styles, all the Muta styles come back right now.
Okay. I mean, I figured, you know, that if there was going to be a nerf, it's because that you guys would be the ones to complain. Like, right? Naughty Sullen's back in, Nidus everywhere in your matchup. And I guess I was right about that, but I didn't expect that to directly result into the Mutas. So, all right, so we see more Muta styles. What did you think about the Year Zero game?
I thought that was quite interesting. I know that is Serral's style when he realizes very early on that it's Muta, because then he thinks he can get up the queen count and then get 2 Corruptors, but he just didn't manage to get up the 4th base, which is very important. And yeah, Reynor just realized and played it very smart, just took his gases and went for the Mutas and found good trades. But I also think that for the rest of the series, I think the Muta maps are kind of out, besides maybe Kingscough is left.
Okay.
So I will be excited to see some more standard plays here, actually.
Standard play. All right. So the Corruptors are actually generally good against that, or is that just a Serral thing?
I honestly, I talked with Serral and I didn't like it too much, but he thinks that if he has a good feeling for the game and a nice early game as well, which he had, it's good, but you really need to be in position always. That's the kind of team that there is in general against Muta, always being in position.
Yeah, also you cannot have like 10 Corruptors versus 20 Mutas, because then 20 Mutas just kill the Corruptors. You actually need to be quite on point, you know.
Okay.
You need to have a nice number of Corruptors.
So you actually need to match it a little bit more.
Yeah, it's very hard to, you kind of need to balance how many Roaches you make against the Zerglings and the Corruptors, because Roaches also cost gas, but you don't want to make too many, so because otherwise you will lose the Corruptor fight, right? So yeah. Yeah,
it's very weird stuff. So in that last game number 3, we did see Reynor try and go into Ling Lurker, which has been kind of I don't want to call it a meme necessarily, but a lot of people have been talking about it. Like, who made it? Is it good? Like, what's going on? What are your guys' opinions on it?
I think it's not a good style on average. I think if you recognize it, which it's not actually that hard to recognize, like you can scout with Zerglings, there will be a lot of Zerglings from the Ling Lurker play, and there's going to be gases missing, so you know it's not Muta. You can respond by pushing on the map with Roaches and Banelings, and then Nidus, where the Roaches are as well. And I think that's not holdable. And I think if you just play Lurkers yourself, actually, you should be in a fine position, because you can just make a lot of drones. So.
Yeah, I agree. Because the style had so much success recently, but it's only because the style is new, I think, and nobody just was expecting it. So like Serral lost couple games to it. Scarlet was doing it. Reynor was doing it. But right now, I think we know that actually, if you go into late game with Lurkers yourself, then you're just ahead, because you have better upgrades, you have more gas. So you just need to actually survive and go Lurkers yourself, and you're just ahead.
So there's a lot of weaknesses. It's not just about finding it out and killing it. It's also like, even if you don't kill it necessarily, you can still survive.
If you do what you usually do, which is like mass roach, you know, then you lose. But yeah, you just need to adapt to a new style, and I think it's got figured out already.
Okay, very cool. All right, so last question for both of you, right? How do you think the rest of the series should go? Is Serral going to bring it back? Is he going to adapt it here?
I personally wouldn't be too surprised if Serral does a bit more aggressive openings, because Reynor has been cutting corners in game 1. He went blindly for early Evo Chamber without a Baning Nest. In the last game, he skipped the Baning Nest, and the other game, he went Muta straight away 3 base. So I think I wouldn't be surprised to see some aggressive stuff from Serral, and other than that, maybe a bit more Roach versus Roach.
Okay.
Yeah, I also think it's going to be a very close series still, but it seems like, I mean, all the styles that Reynor was showing in the past, I think Serral kind of knows how to deal with them, so as long as he's solid, I think Serral is the favorite here, even though he's 2-1 down.
All right. Well, I'd love to have you guys on for the cast as well, but we're going to take up too much of your time. Thank you so much for giving us your insights on ZVZ in general, and I know you guys will be watching this epic showdown, as we have still potentially, 4 games left, so thanks, guys. Any quick last words?
No, just watch the series. It's going to be epic, I think.
Nice. There we go, PogChamp, exactly. All right, we're going to get in control back on here as we head into game number 4. It's going to be on Port Alexander, so there's going to be some magic that goes on. Yes, very carefully. Don't break everyone's ears with that. Apparently the code word I was supposed to say was bananas, bananas, bananas. Haha! Wow, that actually brought the game. I'm magic. My next act, I will bring an in control out of thin air.
More like fat air.
Oh, I'm so burned. Got him.
The anti-analyst is back. Jiminy Christmas. Well done.
Thank you.
I learned a lot. I was sitting back there, and when Lambo said he wants more standard games, I thought to myself, I'm so thankful.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's do the introductions because StarCraft games can't be started without them.
I've already forgotten who these guys are.
In the bottom right, up 2-1 still, it is the Red Zerg Raynor.
And in the top left-hand side, it's still the Blue Zerg, Serral.
Anti-sports.
Coming out of Finland, it's Serral.
How long do you think he could keep up that announcer voice?
Poof. I've never gone that long with it.
Okay.
I usually end up cracking, though, and you're somehow more deadpan and dry than I, so it would probably I'd get uncomfortable and start cracking like 5 seconds into it.
Yes. Getting berated for Caster Chicken, it was totally worth it. No, anyways.
Someday in the distant future, when we've won back enough political caster hegemony, we need to do it again. Because I think you'll be my greatest opponent, because I think we could go basically an entire game without saying anything.
Yes, and it'll be the...
Like, literally, Adrian would come out and be like, you guys are fired. I'm like, what do you do?
I'm like, well, I'm not,
You're out of here.
Not saying anything. Yeah, so that was actually really cool for them to come on and talk about it. It was actually just right off the bat, right, saying this is the new age ZVZ. This is the result of having the Nidus Swarm in its place for that very short amount of time and then getting nerfed. So, but I also feel like it does still play into... There is still a lot of similarities with this series and the Montreal series, which was so long ago, very different meta, but then there's still, you know, things that I recognize. And I'm like, I would expect Raynor to be the one to show the mutas first, and that Serral does have his own response, so it was not that surprising, but it was surprising of how he did it, right? Like, Corruptors against the mutas, that's such a bewildering thing. I'm still kind of stuck on that, but obviously we're in a game number 4, and we have different things to talk about.
Yep. I agree with you. Sometimes stuff like that happens where you get like a little mental latency where you're still thinking about it, but you have to talk about the other stuff that's happening. We'll see. I guess the big question I have is if it ends up in a similar situation, does he go back to Corruptors? Is that like something that the way they talked about it, I think it was a laser, that is actually his reaction is, I will go Corruptors in that spot. Obviously it's map dependent a little bit, but I don't know. Corruptors are an okay answer. It feels like it's just it's consistently inferior. It's like a defensive response. It's very hard to see that get out on the map and go do stuff.
Yeah, and it still kind of comes down to like you have to play that so like almost perfectly, right? I mean, we should talk about it because we could have a lot more games and that could show itself. They said maybe like the other muta map would be King's Cove, which is later on. But here on Port Alexander, we do have 3 hatch to 3 hatch, and now both players are going for an evolution chamber, but Raynor does have the faster one.
Yeah, it's been kind of funny. He goes for like the fast Evo chamber, but then there's actually a little chunk of time where he doesn't use it at all, like right now. He now has 100 gas, so it's going to be that ranged attack. I'm nitpicking, of course, but we're at the finals of this tournament. These are the 2 best Zergs in Europe, so I think we get to do a little bit of that. Anyways, ranged attack for both players, faster layer for Serral. Otherwise, pretty similar openings.
Yeah. Yeah, they both end up going to +1 missiles, both going to Roach Warrens, and just that layer. So the Roach speed would be given to Serral. He can control the game a little bit more. If Raynor were to move out with any idea that his opponent has faster speed, it'd be a bad decision. It'd be a very dangerous decision to make because he's not doing it all in. He's getting his own layer, right? So we are going into perhaps finally just the super standard Roach vs. Roach.
I hold my breath. Everything looks like that's the case. I'm waiting for the insta-spire from both players as the layers finish because they're just like, no, meters are so good right now. But maybe not.
Actually, I think you're right. I do expect one of these players to throw an Aspire.
We have like Muta's PTSD though. We're like,
yeah, that's true. Well, it's not even PT. Like I was the only person that likes Muta vs. Muta back in Heart of the Swarm.
You liked it?
I did. I thought it was so cool.
What did you like about it? Like specifically Muta vs. Muta. Why'd you like it?
Well, I guess back then it was two of my favorite players that were like the best at it.
Okay.
So Jaedong and Scarlet. And then I actually thought that the control on the ground with Lings, because Lings are like basically my favorite unit. They're the amount of skill that you can see when players are really good with Lings is, I think, still better than what you see with Roach versus Roach. Not that that doesn't have its own complexities.
Okay.
So it was kind of not even the Mutas, right? It was more about the Lings. Which I still hold to, but that's why I liked it. There you go. Now we're on to bigger, better things. Nidus Swarm, once again, kind of bring that up.
Might get
Cyril's going
spotted
for
here.
it.
In fact, it will get spotted. Which is funny because it doesn't necessarily have to be an all-in thing. Like you don't, by building a Nidus, you don't have to do that. You don't have to commit everything to it. We'll see how Cyril ends up evolving here with this strategy, as it is going to be spotted. Actually, as I say, the Overseer's like really awkwardly parked just off it, I believe.
Is he seriously?
And then it moves away. Did it not see it?
No, it did. Okay.
Okay, it did. But did it see it, you know what I mean? And it's just going to be a forward one. Queens are going to be able to pop out of this. Lings are still coming out of Raynor. Okay, as I say, they come back home. So this won't be spotted. It's going to be a reinforcement tunnel of sorts. And army-wise, Cyril is ahead, but not so much so.
Yes.
Position-wise, though.
Right, exactly. Positioning starts off a little awkward there for Raynor, who is expensive Ravagers were caught off guard. They're being focus fired down as well. And yeah, even though the armor supply wasn't that different, half was up the ramp, half it was down, and is this actually just going to be it?
It kind of looks like it. The Nidus is allowing for immediate reinforcements, so it kind of acts like almost you're defending at home. You're getting that quick response. And with this base getting dislodged and drones dying, Cyril has done it. He's tied up the series to a piece. And life happens fast in a ZVZ, right? It was just a little while ago, it was 0-2. And then we had a segment, we bought time, and here we are, and now it's 2-2. It's a reset.
I love how these players have gotten their games, though. Like, maybe like one-sided is like too harsh of a term, but like Raynor had his first two games where he looked like masterful, and you were saying he looked like Cyril you would think would look like. And then Cyril, for revenge, just like punches him in the face twice.
Yeah.
Really quick, just jabs, and Raynor gets knocked down, sorry, in the tied series with still not quite a super back and forth. The Roach versus Roach was supposed to be set up. Their army supply was so similar. The upgrades are similar, and then, you know, 10 units were on the low ground, 20 were on the high ground. That's not going to look pretty as they awkwardly engage without each other.
Yeah, and one of the things I liked that the boys said just a few moments ago, too, was the Nidus, they were talking about in terms of the nerf being more of a ZVZ. I'm going to kind of extrapolate from that and pull away. It's also that it's just such a ZVZ thing, right? Like right now, Roach timings are good. Add in your queens, add in quicker reinforcements, and that timing attack becomes more lethal. So that game in an earlier meta where it's just those Roaches hitting has more of a chance of being spotted as they cross the map, has more of a chance of being defended because they're not being reinforced as fast, and then the game stabilizes and goes longer. Now, Cyril gets a couple of cycles production in. They had similar army comps, but like you were pointing out, the positioning was just that much worse for Raynor. Game's over.
Yeah.
Boop. It's done.
Yeah, kind of going along with what the guys said. So I think, like, but basically they both said that Cyril was going to be able to bring it back and easily beats. And while initially it didn't look that way, it's been very topsy-turvy. You know, Raynor was looking dominant first two games. Now Cyril looking dominant. Still 3 more games to go potentially. I'm still waiting for the sick, like, Roach versus Roach or Ling Muta versus Ling Muta, which we're probably not going to get. I'm not sure. Apparently Cyril doesn't want to play that game. He'd rather go for Corruptors against that. But I want it to happen so bad.
It'd be fun. We'll have to see, though. This next map's going to be Cyber Forest, so it's not the Muta map. And then this could be just another standard Roach game, back and forth that way. The thing about the Nidus that was kind of revealed in that last game for Cyril's win is it wasn't a super gotcha Nidus. It was just kind of a, like, this just makes my strategy that much better. But it was not an all-in. It was not a crazy, wacky strategy that he pulled out and Raynor just wasn't prepared for. So it's kind of a funny, lethal thing that can happen in this matchup for both players.
Right, yeah. It wasn't a difference of like 20 or 30 army supply. And while it was at a lower economy, it was 55 to 65 drones, right? This is a situation that Raynor, even with that forward Nidus, the forward reinforcement point, if everything was in position, we could have still been casting that game, basically.
Right.
So now it's time for him to kind of bring that momentum back. He's lost it officially at this point. Slapped down twice. Now he needs to bring it back on Cyber Forest, which I feel like another Nidus is going to happen here. It's like, I mean, it's like Nidus or Mutas. It's either one.
Well, it works so cleanly that sometimes that can be the carrot, right? It's like, if that works that well, I should probably revisit that idea.
Yeah. It's also just, even if this was going to be a complete macro game and both players get into a good position, the Nidus Swarm as mobility is just, you know, it's cool. You know, and I don't hate it, but I did, you know, bring it up with the Zerg players that, like, if anyone was going to get that nerfed, it was going to be the Zerg players that were like, this is silly. Literally armies popping out of Nidus Swarms on our 4th bases. I could do it too, I guess, but he did it faster. So, oh, you know what? We kind of forgot to bring something else that can happen in his EVZ up. You know, I think we forgot something.
Pool first.
That's rating control. You get the gold star.
But I don't know who these guys are, so.
Okay, well, you get the gold star, but also do the instructions first.
That's right.
In the top left, as the red Zerg, that's Raynor.
Is this the smallest map in the map pool? Would you say Cyber Forest?
No.
No?
I don't
What do you think
so.
smaller?
I'm trying to remember the name right now.
You just say no. I like it. You're like, nah. Like, what do you think? You're like, nah, I got no answer. I just don't think you're right. Bottom right hand side, looking to take the first lead for himself in this best of 7, it's Serral. And it is Hatch, Drone. Is it going to be Gas? Nope, it's Pool.
Yeah, just the pool here, and then taking the hatchery. So Raynor will eventually see that hatchery timing, but we'll see the Lings pop out and go through the middle of the map. I want to get the cancel/kill actually on Raynor's hatchery in that ideal world. If you can't do that, then maybe Raynor miscalculates the drone micro and also just loses a bunch of drones. And then if you get anything like that, you get the drone lead, if you get the hatchery, right, then you're actually in a fair position. You can also just, if you think maybe you're going to be counter-alling or something like that, this is a map with a ramp and actually a very small choke that you can try and build a wall off of. So Raynor, is he mentally prepared for this to happen? Or do you think Serral was never ever going to early pool him? And we're about to see, because he can't do anything physically different. He does have the time to go ahead and start the 4 Lings up, but there's no way he could have made his pool even faster, his queens even faster. There's the drone pool. We want to save the hatchery if possible, but you got to be so careful not to just lose like 6 drones too.
Right. Saving the hatchery is the standard. By just pulling these drones, you kind of award yourself that. But to your point, you just cannot lose any drones here, because that plus the pull would be disastrous. Small Ling exchange back and forth there. It's of course, oh, you clever girl. Serral's able to snipe the 1 wounded Ling there. That's pretty funny. They actually come out 5 Lings apiece, or is that 4? It's 4 to 5.
4 to 5.
Completely unimportant numbers.
That worked out rather well. Rather well. Wabbit.
I'm hunting a wabbit.
But the hatchery isn't so low that like a follow-up speedling attack would be scary, and there's obviously not on the way. He knows exactly what Serral's build was, and then you didn't lose that many drones. Losing 2, I guess if you're being hypercritical, maybe he should have been able to micro those 2 back and not lose any. But losing 2 is not the worst, and they're an even worker count, even base counts. Well, not right now. Raynor does slap down that 3rd faster than what Serral does. Both are getting into gas now. Serral's actually closer to that speed, if that's what he wants to go for. But still no 3rd from him. Doesn't have near enough minerals. That's what Raynor's going to be keeping track of.
Yep. And it is going to be the fast layer first.
Okay. Yep. So that's where the 100 gas can certainly go. And eventually Raynor will see with his Overlord, hey, you still don't have a 3rd hatchery. And he can either dip in and see that evolution chamber if he doesn't already see it, or have the Lings go ahead and scout that out. But this is where it opens up opportunities. You don't know what's happening behind that. So while it could just be the standard stuff, going to roaches, going to +1 missile, maybe there's something a little sneakier behind it. Raynor is going to be going for his evolution chamber.
Yeah.
He likes that building.
And does he have speed? Did I just miss that mentally?
No, he does not have speed.
He
So
doesn't have speed.
I would have expected the +1 missile does start, so then a lair will be starting eventually as well. These Lings getting inside are going to see the still lack of speed. No Wiggly Jiggly on the pool, and obviously no Speedlings chasing them. Trying to get a drone. Ooh.
Almost.
Ooh. Sneaky.
But yeah, confirming that there's no lair, and this Overlord's been looking at the 3rd base for quite a while now. So that's got to inform him. He's going, okay, he's going for his own 3rd. I was just going to say I didn't think he would do this, but he is going to go for that. I could have seen another Nidus attack, actually, like outside the 3rd or something like that, with just the roaches that he makes off of this, knowing that he's ahead on upgrade, at least speed. and then the queens, but I guess it's just 2 all-in for him right now.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think that would be the case. Raynor is not too far behind in the Roach Warren. If he had seen speed and like a Baneling Nest for some reason and known that that was going to be way, way off, then perhaps, but they both are going towards that direction, so Raynor gets the faster third, but, you know, there's not a lower drone count. It's not going to be, I guess, the biggest difference, but Raynor is ahead, 9 drones, and they'll be more efficient mining for a little while longer. But he did manage to skip speed. He didn't get sucked into, you know, over-preparing for an all-in that wasn't actually on the way. And his +1 missile is pretty well timed along with Serral's.
Yeah,
so
about the same. It really is just that speed upgrade difference, and like you said, I mean, and like it gets broken down. If no attack happens and those upgrades just finish, it doesn't matter. The window of opportunity is come and gone for Serral. So he is back only the 5 workers, and his third is finishing up, so that's going to end up being not that big of a difference either. Scouting lane doesn't see much here. Second Evo chamber on the way, excuse me, for Serral. And so far, that Muta like expectancy we had, by the way, has not shown up, right? Last game, no case. Here, nope. Both players very comfortably going into the Roach phase of the game. Not even a Hydra Den or anything. They're just going to stick on Roaches, Roach Ravager for a little while here.
Yeah, not yet. You know, eventually we see that next choice. So is it going to be Nidus Worms and just like mass Nidus mobility? Do we see Tunneling Claws, which was more the standard for a while, just eventually getting into that? And there is the option for Hydras as we go along with Lurkers, but not the Ling Lurker, just, you know, what would expect Roach Hydra Lurker. That's later on. First, we got to get through this Roach stage. You don't want to be caught, you know, surprised by an all-in. You go up to 65 drones, other guy says it, you know, 50 or whatever. But we do have them both around 60. We do have a lot of Roaches on the way. Raynor has stalled out his +2 upgrade, no second evolution chamber, and he's the one marching across the map.
Yeah, and that'll be a 2 upgrade difference if this attack from Raynor does not get the job done. If time is bought here, we're going to see Serral have a pretty impressive upgrade lead. And he sees his attack coming. The Overlord's around the map. They saw it coming. And Raynor's just hoping to have just more right now. He's just jumping on top of this and going for it. A couple of Corrosive Vials do land. Queen's attracting a lot of fire, though, for right now. And Serral down in supply by quite a bit.
Yeah, well, he's got a lot invested in that 2-1. The Fairness advantage might have kicked in, but he was investing so much.
Ooh.
He had their GG. Raynor takes game number 5. To finish my point, he had 2-1 on the way. There's a lot of Roaches not to have. He also did lose out in the economy for just enough time to boost those numbers of Raynor's Roach attack. Very nicely done, very swift, very well timed. And we're getting into the next game. These are quick CVZs.
I was going to say, this is kind of funny because you were the one that kind of talked about this, but it has not been back and forth. It's been like, if this was some kind of fight card, these are 2 title big fighters, and we're expecting this back and forth thing, but it's just been bam right in the face and bam right in the stomach, and like no defense so far. That attack just won the game. So just tapped out immediately.
That's a very good way to put it. It's all offense, no defense, kind of what it feels
Not really.
like. So I can only assume that Serral will be taking the next game in some type of similar fashion. What maps we have left? We have definitely King's Cove. I can't remember the last one right now, but we'll see. You know what? Fort Alexander? Is that what it is? Kairos? How many games we have?
Well, we'll just have to wait and see. I thought I knew, but then as you said those names, then my brain was like, I don't know. Thought we did those, but maybe not.
Maybe. It's going to be King's Cove.
You're right.
Yes.
Which is the Muta map, as it turns out.
Well, it's a possible Muta map, yeah, for sure.
That's what those professional players said. That'd be good.
Well, they were like, I don't know if there's Muta maps anymore. Maybe King's Cove. Like, I think that's what they said.
That's pretty close to commitment from a pro gamer, I think.
Well, I don't know. You ever watch them cast? Losing 1 drone, suddenly everything's dead.
Oh, I know. No. Homestrike Up's one of my favorite terms every year because my favorites every time a player's like, and he's completely dead, and then like 5 minutes later, turns around and is like, wow, I was wrong. And like,
that's why Idra was the best caster.
Yeah.
This guy just screwed up. This guy's dead.
It's
well,
over.
the other guy screwed up. So.
But then his answer for why that's the case was the best ever. He's like, well, the other player's a bigger idiot. Can't believe he made more mistakes. Like, well, that's StarCraft.
His short-lived but beautiful casting career was my favorite. Anyways, I cannot believe that, like, I don't mind how this has gone. It just was not the sucker punches that I thought. I thought it'd be like more like, wow, he barely held that Roach attack. He barely noticed that Spire. But it's like, you know what? He saw that Nidus Worm. Oh, he still dies to it. Oh, he sees that Spire. Okay, he also dies to it. And I just like, can it go on? Can it actually just be the same over and over and over again?
It has been strangely, yeah, poignant. Like even that last one, I'm still kind of catching up to that because it is a shorter map. But he didn't go into it like a 40 army supply, and I'm just missing it. I like made sure to look down and see. It's like, okay, it's like 15, 10 difference, which usually gets made up in the defender advantage, but
it was so swift. It
just wasn't enough.
It wasn't just that the roaches, there was like a slight difference, 15, 20, whatever it was. It was also that some of them are still coming out from their eggs, and then there was that spike of mineral income. We didn't get to show the income graph before the tap out happened, but those 9 extra drones for a little while. The successful defense, only losing 2 drones to the initial attack. He did have a spike, like 600 minerals. I think that sometimes is enough combined with a swift attack, combined with a assured attack. Because imagine if he postures, imagine if he makes a couple Ravagers. That's probably when Serral has the defender's advantage kick in and is actually okay with the 2-1. But they're definitely confident in their games, I feel.
Yeah.
It's not been a lot of hesitation. And that's what's creating these very swift ends to it.
All right. We are at match point for the fans of the Italian man there, Mr. Raynor, as we enter into King's Cove, the beach map, Ohana's distant cousin.
We need more beach maps.
Yes, it's a beautiful tile.
And we need to change them to a winter map.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's the last time that happened. Literally Belshire Beach.
Yep.
Belshire Winter.
So festive.
Calling all map makers. I will give you 15 hamburgers.
Wow.
If you create King's Cove in a winter format.
The hamburger bi-weekly. You do it.
Yeah, well, Pizza Bi-Weekly is getting so popular.
So powerful.
I'm getting a little jealous. All right, we're into game number 6. I can count successfully, thankfully. In the top left, he's now up 3-2. It is the red Zerg, Raynor.
All right, needing to win to give us a game 7 and to give himself a chance. On the right-hand side, it's the blue Zerg, Serral. Thank you to our European viewers for staying up late watching the CVZ. It's a big one. If Raynor wins this will be his first major tournament win. And of course, if Serral wins, it's some kind of return to normalcy. And the question once again gets asked of WCS, can anyone beat Serral? But right now, it's looking like yes.
Well, if this was the old Serral in 2018, I would be like, nah, I'm not too worried. He kind of shows like he might lose, and then he just doesn't lose. No, but he's not, so it is definitely possible. And we have been having these swift, like, decisive wins. So is Raynor just going to have the next Sucker Punch, take the victory? That would be cool. I mean, no one's not a fan of Raynor. If you're in the chat right now and you're like, I hope Raynor loses. I want Serral to win his
you never see it.
billionth title. I don't know what to tell you. You're silly.
He's too new. Every time a new player comes along, everyone loves him. You got to give him some time. They got to win some. Sleep in for an online cup or something. We got to have a reason to hate, you can't just... He's too young and beautiful and skilled and talented and bubbly.
And sometimes that reason to hate is just that they win too much.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Unless they're, again, really pleasant like Serral. Like, I don't... There's, like, the hardcore fans that'll... The closest you get to Serral hate is people being like, he wasn't the best player last year. He wasn't in Korea. Like, that's as close as it gets.
Yes.
But I'll tell you what, it's a good day for you when the worst argument you hear is, you're not the best at this thing you do.
You're just like really, really, really good.
You're just in the argument for it, but I'm edgy and I don't think I agree with it. And you're like, all right, I'm doing okay.
Yeah, there definitely are people who love tearing down the crown, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, and if that's your reason, like, more power to you. It's exciting to watch the guy who always wins finally lose.
Sure.
But Serral has lost that particular, like, symbol or whatever you want to call him. Like, he's not the guy who always wins anymore, but if he were to win, it wouldn't be a surprise. I'd still be very excited. He's an awesome guy. But both these guys are so cool. I know a lot of people, are tweeting or talking and saying, like, I don't know who to cheer for. I like both these guys. And I'm right there with you. But Raynor would get his first really premier tournament win if he did this.
Yeah. And it's the first WCS tournament of the new year as well. The first full year that he's able to compete, so. And we had talked about this too, but it gives you enough points where you're almost guaranteed to be at the World Championship. It's a lot of points. You just basically have to compete in WCS and continue to do pretty well throughout the year, and if you do, you're just going to be there. And having Raynor at the World Championship Finals, that'd be pretty sick.
It would, yeah. So we have a lot of Lings on the way for Raynor, but he's not going to go for a Baneling Nest, right? So if you can go ahead and skip that, then more power to you. He goes right into that Roach Warren. So Serral, you know, he has the Baneling Nest made. He's making Banelings. In a perfect world, those are basically wasted. And Raynor goes, haha, I'm on to the next step anyways, and you didn't really need to build those.
Yeah. And then it opens up a scary timing attack, actually, even just pre-layer Roaches walking across the map. They can just end the game. Actually, some drones getting found here at the natural, but the position does not get awarded over at the third, as Raynor is fighting to be as annoying as possible, but now Baneling's waddling over to the third should lock that down.
Yeah. But by being the one on the aggressive stance, right, he gets to not be bopped by offensive Banelings because he's being a little kind of greedy, a little risky by going right into Roaches, which we know if there's a small number of Roaches, Lings can beat them. But right now, as he adds on a lot of Roaches, continues adding on Lings, still is actually going to be kind of happy he has some Banelings. He needs to be careful not to lose them because, well, actually that was a good trade, wasn't it? So I'm okay with that. But the point is, there is an attack on the way, or there could be. We actually go back in adjourning a little bit, and you want to wash off the Lings of your opponent if possible to get that surround on the Roaches, because right now, Serral's Roaches wouldn't be ready to go. Yeah. But Raynor did go back in adjourning, actually. He built like 10 Roaches and is just continuing. Oh no, there they go. Across
These are
the middle
like
of the map.
warning shot Roaches.
There we go.
Lings can come out behind him, and like you said, that timing attack can be very real. But enough time was bought for Serral that he's going to be able to make his own Roaches here as he is. And so the Roaches just simply waddle back. But the threat's real. If you don't make the Roaches from Serral and there is a big wave of an attack coming, you can just die, and in this case, lose the tournament.
Yeah, and it's not that huge all in. There's drones behind it, and I assume a lair. So they both end up around the same worker count. They both end up with similar armies. Maybe those Banelings do help out, but we're kind of moving past that point. Additional gas is being taken. More for Raynor is, yeah, he just came back home. So who's the first one to go for a lair?
Neither.
Well, that doesn't. Who's the first one to go
who is
for?
going to it?
I was going to say, I was like, how is that an answer? It's like saying, like, do you want X or Y? Yes. Is it X or Y? Neither. Okay.
Right. Drone's being transferred to the third.
Answer.
What? Oh, you're still talking about that. No, I misheard you. I thought you said which is going to be the first to go for lair. And they're not yet.
But eventually someone will.
Maybe.
You think, like, it's actually been quite a while since I've seen
Roaches and Lings right now.
It's been a while since I've seen both players just stick on that hatchery to attack each other. Usually it is, right? That lair versus no lair all in. But you're right. No one has gone for a lair yet. And they both are just hovering around that 44 worker count, both building armies. It's all going to come down to who gets like a better surround on the Roaches, who snipes the Ravagers, who gets the better Corrosive Biles.
Yeah, it makes it pretty funny. This first one gets found. A couple of Roaches, unfortunately, sloppily get found there as well. But if you look at the army supply, it's dead even for the most part. And like Serral's coming across. This is a gotcha timing. But Raynor was doing the gotcha timing. So they're both just, they're going to butt heads with this army that was meant to catch the other off guard. And it will be Raynor that blinks first. So your question of who's going for lair, it's going to be Raynor in the face of this attack, which is how confident he is in defending it.
Oh,
whoa! Ravager's way up in the front.
Yeah, that was definitely not on purpose. Ling's also getting some decent surrounds to help out their own Roaches, right? To actually catch up, get those last hits. And they are continuing to just jab away here. Serral is like, that was a bad start. That was too bad of a start. Let's just retreat.
Whoa.
And Lings don't get anything done behind this, and he is not the one adding on a lair.
He's making more Roaches, and even Queens right now as well. So he's got a big Ling counterattack making its way over towards the third. This is getting chased back. He's going to lose a couple of extra Roaches here, it looks like. Yes,
I mean, it takes a long time for Lings to kill a Roach, like 2 hits at a time, but it can absolutely happen across the map. Serral is slightly down in that supply, still trying to find something to do with these Lings. They finally find something, a Queen, in fact. And Raynor is going to hold off on utilizing that lair. He sees an opportunity to push into Serral, but Defender's Advantage would kick in. A lot of Lings this time for Serral, getting that surround or trying to.
Yep, if they can slow down this army and get the bigger Roach count of Serral on top of this, that could be the equalizer, but a good concave from Raynor. Nice micro there to outmaneuver the Lings. And he's going to push back, and another Ravager finds itself in the front line. He's got to be really careful. I got to tell you, and there's the Spire, by the way, against a, he doesn't even have a lair to Serral, so he's just now starting it up. He's in such a bad spot. I'm almost speechless here. The decision to push the attack was fine, but him having 4 of his like 6 Ravagers at the absolute front is the kind of mistake you never see Serral make. That was incredible.
Well, not to be too harsh, but like any professionals are really
Fair enough, fair enough, yeah.
It's that was pretty big. That was a thank you, yes please, for Reynor to take that and get a couple of extra roaches on the follow up too. So I think by allowing that to happen, having that aggressive stance again, it's almost like being able to skip the Banelina. So in this case, it's not skipping anything, it's adding something in. You add that Spire, you think you can get away with it. Even if Serral were to push a small army advantage, which he doesn't really have, right? Defender's advantage would hopefully still kick in.
Yeah.
You wouldn't die for going for the Spire, and I think it will be successful. Serral is going to be on this map thinking, I'm posturing, and then boom, 7 mutas pop up, and then you're losing even more of those Ravagers.
It was a strange moment in time. It's just not the Serral way to make those mistakes like that. But he's going to pull back with the Roaches. He has some Ravage out here looking for Overlords, trying to snipe. He's going to, sure, you're going to grab a few of that. But 6 mutas are up. And Serral in the past has had this scouted. He's got Lings perusing. He's got an Overseer kind of poking and prodding. That is not the case this time around. I think one of these Overlords might be the first to get their way over there. But even they are not super aggressively trying to find out. It's going to be mutas on the map. Will be the first of Serral seeing this. Now, he does have a Hydra down the way. There's the Overseer. Never mind.
Nice.
I was a little bit wrong about that. But I actually, okay, he canceled the second Hydra Den. I like the Hydra Den more, right? Like, if he was just going to do his Corruptor thing again this late, I feel like he's just auto-dead. But in this case, maybe it's not ideal, but I feel like it's better. I feel like it's better for him.
Yeah. There's a lot of ways this could be going much worse. Serral did withdraw, you know, finding something a little off and being... Like, there's no reason really for him to be in the map if he's not going to push. So he doesn't lose Ravagers unnecessarily. He is going to be able to defend eventually, because this is not going to be that huge snowball of mutas, even though he is going to lose a couple of queens, maybe? Oh, nice. Almost predictions for shot.
Yeah.
You really shouldn't be getting mutas with Corrosive Biles, but maybe if it gets them scared and running away. And he's going to be getting to that, theoretically, the better army. You know, the Roach, Hydra, sturdiness with upgrades as well.
4 more mutas queued up. I guess he's like sensing it's going to be Hydra, or there's just no reaction, so he wants to pad it. Well, he definitely knows the Hydras are out now. Behind this, he's been adding pretty continuous Roaches. Like, their drone count is actually slightly in favor of Serral because of how many Roaches are coming out for Reynor. And now trying to muscle his way in is Serral, and he will. And it's actually kind of cool, because he's going to see more mutas coming out, so it's going to give him an idea of how weird that tech is. He's also going to be able to find himself maybe a couple of drones, which isn't bad.
I like this as time buying. It brings back the mutas as well as probably just delayed Reynor's attack by a little bit. So he wants to attack. He figures like Serral does have all these Lings, which would have been useless in a main attack or borderline useless. And he also is getting the Hydras, which sometimes you can overwhelm someone, right? Because they're more expensive. You can have the maxed out army versus the not maxed out army, which is what's happening. Reynor has 40 more supply, also investing into a Nidus Worm for instant reinforcements, but he doesn't have any upgrades, and he will be moving into Defender's Advantage.
This is actually, in my mind, it's up in the air a little bit, right? Like, the mutas don't contribute that much. Serral's got a huge, huge line of Hydras behind this. So I kind of like it for him, but I don't know.
I feel like if this was 30 seconds faster, then yes, but as it is, Serral got maxed out as that hit, and while he's still down a little bit in army supply, that's definitely made up by the upgrades and the fact that he has that better positioning. All those Hydras with their nice DPS are behind a very thick layer of Roaches and Choke as well.
And there's the Nidus in the main, and actually it is going to be spotted by the Overlord on the low ground, excuse me. Spotted, but was it spotted? Serral's going to want to get over there.
Oh, wow.
Even from the low ground, he got it.
Nice
but by doing that, he's out of position to maybe as an answer on the high ground here for this middle one.
Question is, what is Reynor actually investing
in
into the Nidus Worm?
What is in there?
I guess reinforcement, so it's not going to be a lot, but it certainly will be enough to get the queens as well as a couple of drones. And Serral does need to be taken down to pick on that drone count. Okay, or the entire
whole army.
Because he put a Nidus Worm on the front lines first. There you go.
That's so funny.
But then
I don't feel bad yet, but it should be a little bit silly, right? Like, we're like, what's in there? The whole army.
Yeah, well, he's gonna continue to try to work these 2 Nidus Worms, but
I think the Hydra is such a good answer here.
Serral keeps reacting appropriately. He's not trying to split his army, in which case the entire army popping up from one side kills him.
Yeah.
He's actually splitting it quite correctly.
And the Hydras are finding themselves in good positioning. They want to be in the back lines there, so the sins of those 4 Ravagers from earlier are not being repeated, at least for now. And it is Reynor continuously trying to find his way up here. He is going for that 4th base and does find himself +1 range attack here, but he's going to be behind on a Carapace upgrade going on to 2-2, so he's about to be behind 3 upgrades if this continues.
Yeah, and those Hydras can definitely work through with their DPS. In fact, Serral's going to take this engagement and then some, actually running into a couple of Corrosive Biles, but he wants to get this army either to retreat into the Nidus Worm or past it so that it can take it out.
Yeah, and this is getting worse and worse. It's just drones and roaches so far for Reynor. The mutas now are kind of off the map. If they're not straight up dead, they're just not a factor. And he's not really throwing down a Lurker Den or something like that, so I feel like he's kind of locked in on this being his tech for now. And with these upgrades finishing, it's just going to be a worse tech, and Hydras are just simply better in the gun line.
So I suppose Reynor, like he's in the worst position here. These upgrades are terrible. His tech isn't really there because mutas would not be a good choice, but he does have the control over the ramps temporarily. Now Serral is exactly, as soon as Serral is able to bust down there, he doesn't have an advantage with the concave. In fact, it just happens. So Serral takes the 4th base and can now push across the map.
He's going to go ahead and take that. And this is going to be a resounding win. Even the retreat's going to be costly. Yes, some Corrosive Biles landed, but it's a 20-30 supply advantage for Serral, and it's not looking to be any different. He's going to push across here. And what are you retreating to? Unless you find yourself a gigantic, amazing concave of some sort, you're going to lose the 4th. And maybe lose the fight. Yeah, he's going to make a stand here. He says this is where it's got to happen. But again, with the Hydra spread out behind this insulation of Roaches and Ravagers, forget about it.
Yeah, it's not looking too pretty. Yeah, this is a situation where Reynor had the better economy the entire time. Maybe he remaxes faster and takes advantage, but it just simply wasn't the case. Serral was absolutely correct in pushing down and pushing forward. He's looking to tie up the series yet again. These guys seem to be destined for that Game 7.
These guys seem to be destined to go the distance with it. It's going to be a good one. 4th base now taking some damage, so you can go ahead and poke and prod as much as you want, Reynor, but it's going to cost you. And he's now down 50-60 supply. It's just waiting for the 2 Gs. There it is. GG's called out. Game 7 is seeming to be upon us.
I really liked that game.
Yeah. You know, a little bit more back and forth. We were talking about that, right? Like,
yeah.
Serral makes a big mistake. I thought he was just dead. Able to pull it back. The Hydra tech was a good answer. The mutas didn't seem to do that much. And the Nidus play was cool, but it made him a little bit tunnel vision, right? And he wasn't able to seal the deal.
It had, you know, Nidus Worm, Spire, Hydras. Didn't have Lurkers. Maybe if Reynor was able to equalize things, it would have gone the Lurkers. But maybe that's what Game 7 is being saved for. The ultimate Lurker versus Lurker battle. We all saw Serral ZVZ at BlizzCon of WCS Global Finals last year, where he was just so good at had that super late game ZVZ.
Yeah.
But Reynor's not far behind, actually. Like, I would love to see them get up to that Hive tech and really test each other's positioning. But so far, it's been a lot of games ended very decisively. And is that how Game 7's going to go? Last time, I think Reynor got to Game 7 with Serral. He did a Nidus Storm all in.
Could be long. Could be short.
Could be anything.
Could be a medium-sized game. Only time will tell.
Could
and
be a
Fear
draw.
Dragon. Could be a draw. Could be a short draw. A long draw. A fast draw. What does a ZVZ draw look like? How does that happen?
That's a good question.
Corrosive Biles hit the final 2 Ravagers at the same time, and they have no other mining and no other attack units.
Isn't it, like, I think in that, with a non-Terran draw, is just both people say, I can't move away from this lone building. They bring, like, a Spore Crawler, and they're like, we can't move away from
I've
it.
had it happen. It's stuff like it's a thing that can't attack buildings, that kind of stuff.
Well, if it's like, well,
like if you only have spellcasters, like Vipers in particular. You got a bunch of Vipers, and they're just like ducking each other back and forth, and you're
and
like,
a
well,
Spore Crawler against another Spore Crawler.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be it. That would be it.
It's happened. It's weird though how little it happens when you think about it. Like as a Protoss player, I've had my draws. They're almost always against Terran. I can't think of the last time it wasn't, but I've seen it. It has happened.
Yeah, that's what us Terrans do. We run with.
Or they have something you can't kill. Like they've got like 5 spines or cannons, and you've only got one thing that doesn't recharge health or something.
Yeah, there's a chess term, right, where it's like if you both can't make a move, then it's like a draw. It's called something.
Yeah, it happens with the kings at the end usually, or sometimes.
Oh, well, there
like
you
2
go.
kings can't kill each other, so you're just like.
Well, I think didn't that happen in Brood War in a TVT where both of them had like missile turret lines and battle crews, and they're like, well, whoever moves first loses. So like, do we just draw here?
There's been some ridiculous things in all of StarCraft for draws.
It's 20 plus years of potential StarCraft there, so probably everything's happened.
The scariest one for me is I was commentating with one D. Apollo Clark, and it was either at a DreamHack or it was at Home Story Cup, but it was like getting towards the draw situation, but was not a draw. Both players had somewhat of an army. They weren't doing much. And Apollo, as the commentator, typed in, draw, question mark? And then both the players, like I'm a purist, so it's just like nobody should ever have any influence on the game, but and Apollo's a good guy, but he didn't mean bad by it, but he asked, and then the players were like, I don't know, is it? And one of the players had an advantage over the other one, and then they both were like, sure, it's a draw. And we were like, oh, Sean. But he's so nice and so beloved that the community was like, Sean, gosh, I wish you would have done that, but it's okay.
It's all good.
It's not like the worst thing someone could do would be like lackluster commentate a free-for-all or something like that. Like if anyone ever did that.
That's literally the worst thing that could happen.
Honestly, it makes me sick even just thinking about it. Like it's one of the worst things I've ever heard.
I think it would totally take away from all the praise they would receive from a tournament, not just a month
At the very
earlier.
least, I'd strip their salary. I just don't want to even. Let's put it this way. I don't want to deal with it. Let's just not even talk about it. It hasn't happened yet. We're all in okay shape here. We're going into Game 7 of Serral versus Raynor. Couldn't ask for anything more. You know what? One thing I could ask for, another ZVZ segment with my Clash boys.
Yeah? You want to bring on over?
Before the finals, do you think we can do that?
Just be like, hey.
What do you guys say over in
around?
Europe? It's like midnight over there. Do you think we could do this a little bit more?
A little bit longer.
Milk it a little bit longer?
Is it midnight?
For them it is, yeah. I think.
Yes, it is. Yeah, exactly midnight.
Is it actually?
Yeah.
God,
Well, I mean, there's, I guess, multiple time zones.
Son
in
of
the
a-
entirety of Europe, but...
Well, it's all one place, yeah. It's just outside of London. For now.
Yeah.
Anyways, Game 7, top right-hand side. I'm going to give Jess the opportunity to come to announce the other player, okay? This is the kind of guy I am. From Italy, aged just 12 years young for Team Gamers Origin, it's Raynor, and he's now been transformed into a trophy. Riccardo Romiti.
Production has some bias, man.
Yeah, they do. Does that mean Serral's going to lift him up and kiss him at the end? Inappropriate.
In the bottom left, as the blue Zerg, he is ENCE Esports Serral.
It's funny, because I would not say this series has been exciting or super, like, this is not going to go down the history books so far as one of the most intense best of sevens. But for the StarCraft 2, like, hardcore purist and enthusiast, it's been really nice tactically, right? Like, it's been a lot of, like, oh, you did that thing, I'm punishing you. Or my response to mutas in this case is corrupt your queen, which is very different, a little bit unique, and we kind of saw the pros and cons of that. It's been fun that way. Last game gave me a sample, though, of what I want. And I want Serral versus Raynor, 35 minutes, abducting lurkers out of the ground and hive tech stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I think of with these guys. And it's okay if it doesn't happen. I'm just saying, on my Blizzard shopping cart wish list is a shirt that embodies the battlement of these two, and I want it. I want to wear it.
Okay.
You want to wear it too?
Yeah, it's okay. I'd rather win in a free-for-all and get a hoodie.
Jeez, that is the ultimate prize for sure.
Yeah.
You know, fun fact for everybody wondering, by the way, they actually did play a free-for-all today, the pro gamers. They just did it off camera, and it's because Blizzard's so good. They're such good people. They were like, hey, you guys are doing a free-for-all, and the prize is a hoodie. And they're like, cool, we're pro gamers. And then they were like, actually, no, we're not doing it because the broadcast is going kind of long. And they're like, oh. They're like, well, okay, fine. You guys can play it, and you can win a hoodie. And they're like, yay.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, absolutely.
So
Sounds most excited thing.
Someone's getting a hoodie in the background. You guys will never know who it is.
It's like people who are like, you know, you think people are interested in politics or something like that, but really
Yeah.
they just want the free stuff, free swag. Yeah. Parks and Rec taught me that.
That's a great show.
It is, yeah. So, +1 melee is on the way for Raynor.
Mhm.
Not unexpected. He's been playing a lot with the earlier Evolution Chambers and is going to close out the series with the opener here. Serral's going to go for the third hatchery and also going for that speed. Might see him skip the Bailey Nest as well.
The different look here for me is that when he's done the +1 melee in the past, it's been off of a fairly speedy 3 bases. Like, not abnormally fast, but faster. He's not doing it here.
Yeah, he's keeping up appearances that it's a 2-base Roach build. So he slaps down a second and a third Evolution Chamber. A Roach Warren blocks off any scouting and would also, I would say, you know, stop any Speedling from showing itself before he's ready to do the actual attack. With speed, with +1, with a ton of lings. Serral is not going for a Baneling Nest. He figures he can go straight into the Roaches in the +1. He won't have a lot of army, and even if he did, they wouldn't actually compete with the +1 melee of the lings. And this is going to be potentially brutal, even further keeping up appearances, I believe, with
it's
the
a
Wiggly.
fake upgrade.
Yeah, exactly. He's
Exactly
looking
right.
exactly for that. And Raynor is able to show it to him while also just getting a ton of lings behind it.
But he's... God, hang on. If more drones come up after this, I'm going to be really sad. But right now, Serral's like, do I believe that Raynor is walled in, doing a 2-base standard Roach timing attack? The answer is going to be in these drones up here. Starts a lair.
Oh, there it is.
Well, it's never mind. The bus is out.
This is very scary. He was sort of thinking about a Nidus Storm potential. He's thinking about aggression, but this wasn't the aggression he was expecting. So if he had started Roaches as soon as he saw this, they just get surrounded. They did get killed. So he's trying to build a wall. He's trying to get his own Lings here. The wall is barely made, but with a couple of drones and Lings.
And so far he's holding. The +1 Ling's going to work on the wall as well right now. No, never mind. They're just going to squeeze in. They actually get through. There is space for it. They're getting a surround on one of the queens. She's getting very low in health. The other 2 queens holding on as best they can. Supplies are slightly in favor of Raynor for Army, and now the Lings have won the battle. There's no queens. They're on top of the drones. More Lings coming across the map. This is a timing attack. It's an all-in. And Raynor is looking to grab for himself WCS Winter EU.
Yeah, he's looking for it, but he's not grabbed it yet. He's still down in drones. He's down at third base. He's still completely all in. And that big gap of time where you don't have the larvae, you don't have the immediate reinforcements, means that Serral is actually able to utilize his 3 hatcheries, his defender's advantage. Even though the Speedlings are very fast, it still exists. He might just hold.
He's out of queens, though. Army supply is still in favor of Raynor, and it's just Lings versus Lings. Some roaches starting to come out, but there's just not a significant number. It's only 2.
Yeah, this still looks like Raynor with that +1 is going to be able to snowball, but Serral was so close to getting to those roaches, so close to getting extra queens here. He's now attacking with the drones. There's the kill count that Raynor was looking for, even worker count, and that is it. Raynor is able to get enough Lings to snowball with the +1 and take game number 7, take the series for his first Premier win.
Congratulations to that young man, and he does it with a little bit of trickery. Some of the only trickery we saw in this best of 7, but he has the gusto, he has the willingness to do it in that final game. And it did trick Serral, which is something not many players are able to do. Absolutely amazing job by him. And we saw it all in this. We saw the Mutas, well, I guess we didn't see too much late game, but really nice game there in that game 7, if not a short one.
Yeah. I gotta wonder what would have happened if Serral had been able to get that wall completely, buy more time for transfuses on the queens. He obviously almost could bring back the momentum, but not quite. It's a very, very close series overall, and Raynor, oh, that smile, that third smile. Look at that.
You just gotta love him. He's just beaming, so happy. I think I have headphones on, so it's hard to tell for sure, but I'm pretty sure he shouted and fist pumped when he won, guys. It's a big deal for this young man. He's come really close. We talked about Montreal before. He was 1 game away from winning that WCS stop over Serral and getting himself to the World Championship, but he was stopped. And now it's 2019, and one of the first chances he's had to take a trophy away from Serral, he was able to do that. Amazing.
Yeah, really cool stuff, and this, again, doesn't secure him a spot later on in the Global Finals, but he is darn close to it. Unless this guy doesn't make it into any round of 16s for the next 3 tournaments, like, he's going.
Yeah, I can't laugh, though, because it's like, unless, you know, and then, like, each... anyways, this is a very good moment.
Yes, it is. Please don't clip this and have it in reserve for, 9 months from now.
No, can't happen.
No, it's pretty darn sick. I believe we will have that interview with our champion as well. He's so happy about it, holding a trophy. Yeah. Here he is now.
He's going to make his way over here, but before we can magically get him on, we have to show some kind of graphic just like that. And there is the run. So a couple of players put up some valiant efforts. We started off with a nice EVZ, and we ended with a nice EVZ. Serral taking his kind of standard 3-0s before meeting the final boss, the Mr. number 1 seed himself. Young Raynor, able to have that fantastic round robin and then seal the day here. Worth noting as well, like Scarlet was dethroned yesterday, but Raynor, number 1 seed, and in the end, the number 1 seed.
Yeah, exactly. Serral was the only one that upset the balance, I suppose, of not just getting knocked out by the person above him. And then Raynor continued the trend, right? Takes the championship, takes the trophy, and now.
And there's a picture of Raynor right now.
Yes, Invisible Man Raynor.
He's transformed literally into a Crystallian little trophy.
Yeah. In case we didn't talk about the fact that he has points enough, he has Hecka points.
Well, Hecka points.
No cursing.
He also went from $41,000 prize earning to $53,000. I did that live on air. Boom! Raynor, congratulations.
Thank you.
Absolutely a stunning win. It went to Game 7 again. We were talking about this. You've been there before with Mr. Serral, and you started off 2-0. do you have the voice? Does doubt start to come in? Do you get worried about losing again on the final map or so? Is that something that concerns you?
Yeah, after King's Cove, I was like, no, it's not gonna happen again.
Not again.
Yeah, so I actually did a build that I never did last game.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah,
Your choice was just that you saw that before and you're
because
like, I'm going to do it?
played against Zero, and I know he makes like around 14 links. So if he has to defend against a Lingolin, he has to make more links. So if I have +1, I'm going to win the link fight. So that's I never tried
Brilliant.
that. Yeah.
Right call.
Yeah, it was absolutely the right call. There was a lot of decisive ends in that entire series.
Yeah.
Like, just to like really just zoom out here, we were talking to Lambo and a Laser about ZVZ. Do you feel like the meta's really shifted? Do you feel like it's been a weird like circumstance of ZVZs because the Nidus has gone from being like overused to being, you know, under nerfed once again?
Yeah. I think you have to be way more careful than before. Even though the Nidus is nerfed a bit, it's still really good. So if you, let's say you're out of position and the Nidus pops in your main base, you're dead. That's what happens.
So is ZVZ an even scarier matchup?
Yeah, I think ZVZ comes out into preparation before, so in tournaments. But in ladder, I think you have to be way more careful now and everything. Scout more. Yeah.
Okay, well, we have to ask you about your meme build as well. You were really
Oh,
excited
yes,
about your
of
Ling
course.
Lurker
Yeah, yeah.
before. We had Cyril up here. He said it was quite bad. Or he thought, I mean, not to put too much words in his mouth. He just said he didn't think it was very good. You didn't use it this time. You tried one time. It didn't
Yep.
quite get there. What do you think about it? Are you still working on that or no?
Yeah, it's actually the first time I lose with it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
Oh.
yeah, I think it's good. They keep saying it's bad, but I think it's good.
Yeah.
But I didn't get to play it against Cyril once again because he scouted it, and the best thing you can do is kill me before I get to lurkers. I think I still can do some improvements,
So to be continued. We'll see
Yeah,
more of it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Of course.
Okay,
we'll
I
see.
like
We'll
that.
see.
and it's really fun to play too.
It looks fun, yeah.
In game number 2 on year 0, were you expecting Cyril's Corruptor response?
Oh, not really. No.
No, okay.
I saw the Spire, and I was like, "What is he doing? Is he going Mutas?" But I'm going Mutas first, and he saw the Spire, so it was like, and then I went back, and the Spire was completed. So
Yeah.
it's like, what is he doing?
He even
Yeah.
upgraded from it eventually. Like it was weird, but apparently like that might be kind of a thing he's developing.
Yeah, I think he was expecting me to go Bailings, like a
Mm.
Link Bane Muta timing.
Right.
But as soon as I saw the Spire, I was like, no, I'm gonna make so many drones and make more Mutas than Corruptors.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think with this win, we have to ask, like, what's your training looking like coming forward? You got the whole WCS season in front of you. Are you planning on any trips to Korea that you can talk about at this time or anything like that? Or what's up for Young
I think
Rainer?
I want to go to Korea in
Okay.
summer. Like I wanted to go before, but I had so many things to do, WCS, Challenger, so I don't think before summer I can really go.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
cool.
But I would like to compete in GSL.
I think your fans would love to see that happen again. See another big run there. And you got anything?
No, I'm super excited to hear that he wants to go to Korea again now. like first stop, like you get a WCS trophy and now you're like GSL trophy.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that actually something you think you can do? You did have a really good performance last time you were there.
Yeah, I think I'm very good at preparing for my opponents, so GSL is
All
you
about
know,
that.
it's- Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I have a good shot if I don't meet Neeb again.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, hey, congratulations again. That's a huge, huge
Thank
win.
you.
Do you have any words for your fans and sponsor? Anything you want to end on?
Yeah, I would like to thank Red Bull. It's an amazing sponsor. Gamers Origin, which is my team. They're amazing too. And of course, my fans. And I'm really happy. And yeah, I'll try to keep winning.
You are awesome. It's fun to cheer for you.
It
Thank
absolutely
you.
is. The happiness is infectious. Guys, that's going to be it for WCS Winter. We have both of our champions from NA and EU. You're right here. Gosh, that really is infectious. Can't stop smiling. But thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. We will be back for WCS Spring after winter, and we hope to see you guys there. Guys, thank you so much for watching. We are going to say goodbye, but not for very long. See you soon. Have a wonderful weekend.
Bye-bye.
Europe, and it all starts here.
Oh, ouch. Oof, ouch.
Big
deal.
Yeah, that's a really huge grab. Pulls a lot of the back, and that opens up this opportunity for Lambo to try and complete the reverse sweep in this best-of-5, getting that beautiful concave around a Lasers army, diving in on top of that force. +2 attack is going to finish after half the army is dead for a laser. And wow, what a series, what a turn of events to witness as Lambo has done it, down 0-2. As you are going to die. He has those Hydralisks you were talking about in control. The drones are going to come off the line, but they will not be able to stop this onslaught. GG. Only one of these players is going to get the opportunity to move on further.
That might be dead to that Sport Pro at the third.
Oh
so
my god, those drones.
Stuff.
They're clumping up right now. 11 drones, 13 drones, 17 drones killed. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are new to Protoss versus Zerg and Legacy of the Void, this is not normal. Corrosive Vials also come down on the Immortals, but Drogo, does he actually already just have enough?
Yeah, I guess he does.
Wow.
That seems like a very risky play there, but the Archons, a lot of them still ended up just working through the Locust. They were all clumped up on one of them, and the Immortals, while all of their shields were popped, they're still alive. The War Prism's still alive as well, and the Roaches are easily taken care of with this army. Has Drogo done it? Taking out Lambo, who's just barely scripted his way past a laser to meet Drogo in this final match. Drogo does it, takes the series.
First is going to be loaded on up. We're going to Year Zero, already an exciting map of that last series. We're going to see if it turns out to be equally as exciting. Archon gets Focus Fire down to Zealots, putting in some work, but is it actually going to be enough? Even the Oracle's getting pushed back thanks to the Queens.
Yeah, if he had like a Dark Shrine or something here, I'd feel so much better about it, but the shield gets triggered on that Immortal. Shield battery is out of energy, probes being pulled. They're not going to hold. The Queen's just added that fire base that's too good, and now the Immortal gets isolated. Petit Drogo's out of tools. This Archon also trying to warp in. It's not going to see the light of day, and that's going to be it. 3-0, the first one we've had on either the NA or the European side.
Hydra's coming in from the back to try and focus down the tank. Gets a good blinding cloud. Banes are coming in. Tanks on the right side getting killed. Only 2 siege tanks remain. 1. And with the tanks gone, there's still just only a few Banelings left. Will they be enough to defend against this? Does not look like it, but maybe enough Hydras.
Yeah, I think it might be the Hydra issue. We do have two not on the Hydras, but still the Carapace helping out. Medivacs are trying their best to just heal through this, but yeah, now they're out of energy.
And the Hydras are just going to say, nope. You guys can go back to your base, wait for me to build up a few more army units and come kill you when I'm ready. Or maybe I'll just kill you right now.
Yeah, I think that's going to be
GG.
the case.
Serral does it, and he moves on.
If he had started Roaches as soon as he saw this, they just get surrounded. They didn't get killed. So he's trying to build a wall. He's trying to get his own Lings here. The wall is barely made with a couple of drones and Lings.
And so far he's holding. +1 Ling is going to work on the wall as well right now. No, never mind. They're just going to squeeze in. They actually get through. There's space for it. They're getting us around one of the Queens. She's getting very low in health. The other 2 Queens holding on as best they can. Supplies are slightly in favor of Raynor for Army, and now the Lings have won the battle. There's no Queens. They're on top of the drones. More Lings coming across the map. This is a timing attack. It's all in. And Raynor is looking to grab for himself WCS Winter EU.
He might just hold.
He's out of Queens, though. Army supply is still in favor of Raynor, and it's just Lings versus Lings. Some roaches starting to come out, but there's just not a significant number. It's only 2.
Yeah, this still looks like Raynor with that +1 is going to be able to snowball, but Serral was so close to getting to those roaches, so close to getting extra Queens here. He's now attacking with the drones. There's the kill count that Raynor was looking for, even worker count, and that is it. Raynor